Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everyone. We'd like to call this meeting to order for the Corporation of the Township of Puslinch on December 13th, 2023. And I will start with roll call. Councillor Spoulos. Present. Councillor Bailey.
Present.
Councillor Hurst. Present. And Councillor Goya.
Present.
All right, we will begin our moment of reflection. All right, that concludes our moment of reflection. Ms. Smith, I should have the confirmation of the agenda, please.
The council approves the December 13th, 2023 agenda as circulated, and that council approves the addition to the agenda as follows. Council or questions received from council seeking additional information and the corresponding responses provided by staff. And council shall go into closed session under section 239 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board. This be added to the agenda directly following item 7.2.1.
Okay, thank you. Can I move for that? Councillor Spoulos, second Councillor Hurst. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Do we have any disclosure of pecuniary interest today? Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, with respect to report 7.1.1 grant application program, the organizations Friends of Mill Creek and Optimist Club of Puslinch are seeking to receive grant funding. As I am a member of each of these organizations, I have an indirect pecuniary interest.
All right. Any other disclosure of pecuniary interest? Councillor Goya.
Yeah, same report, part of 7.1.1 and also the delegation 6.1.1. The grant request by Sunrise Therapeutic Writing and Learning Center. And as a board member of the Sunrise Therapeutic Writing and Learning Center, I have a conflict of interest and will not participate in discussions or decisions on that matter. And further, item 7.2.1, which is properties for designation. And the pecuniary interest relates specifically to the property at 4726 Watson Road, as that is a property owned by my parents.
Great, thank you. Councillor Goya. Any other pecuniary interest? All right. I believe we'll move on to our delegations, and everyone Kane is here today. I'll invite you up to the table.
Would like to give Susan Fielding's apologies. Something came up at the last minute at her work, so sorry she's not here.
No problem. We'll send her our hello. We haven't seen Susan.
See you later.
Great, whenever you're ready.
Yes, so we've looked at the allocation and we realized that we've asked for a large amount of money. All the things are very important to the operations of Sunrise. I think we just have to make it clear that our last donation that came from the council was, we put in our final report, that was for our capital campaign, and these things are both very different. And when a small organization, a small charity, any charity actually that goes into a capital campaign is in danger of their operations being impacted because everybody wants to be part of the new and exciting thing. So we do appreciate this. We sent a final report in and it did go towards helping with the application towards our site plan agreement. So thank you for that. So our furnace gave up with us before anybody was able to help us. So we had to, so that comes off the list because we've had to install a new furnace because obviously everybody has to be warm at this time of the year, and that's the children and parents and everybody else. We'd like to focus particularly on the pool, the automatic vacuum, because we run a very large camp with great dedicated people, but there's integration of children with disabilities, so it's very, very busy for the staff. And at the moment we have a vacuum, but it's a hand vacuum, so somebody has to stand there and do it. And it is important for us to keep all our safety standards up for the children that come to camp, and also for community. Shelldale young people come to Sunrise for an event, and so that pool is used during the summer months. So that is one thing, and the tools that we need to properly maintain the farm program, our equipment. We have a new tractor that we waited since 1996 to get a grant approved, and Ontario Trillium Foundation came through last year, and we have a new tractor, so we want to be able to maintain those. The seeding, of course, is important, but I'm prepared to go to a seed company to see if we can get the seed donated. So if we could focus on those other two things, I would really appreciate that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, well, thank you, Ann. Appreciate you coming today, and as you're aware, we're gonna be dealing with the grant and pulling the agenda probably next, I would think. Any questions or needing clarity?
Yes, have you applied for grant funding from other organizations for next year?
Absolutely, we're always about.
Have you been successful?
Yes, we have been successful with some and others not, which is what happens. We put in, we've just worked on a federal government application for accessibility, an accessible enabling fund that went in this week. And there are 3 or 4 other organizations that we're applying to help support that, because we have to we've applied for, we have to provide 35% in cash of the actual cost of the project. But yes, continuously, we have 60 foundations that support Sunrise, which is quite phenomenal for a very small organization. I understand, I didn't know that, but somebody who is in the know told us that, and hundreds of individuals, but we're constantly fundraising, because we want to finish in the black at the end of the year, and it's a very busy and very sought after program. There are about 6 different programs under the umbrella of Sunrise, and we have a wait list for all of them.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of council?
Just before I leave,
Sure.
can I
had some
officially,
questions for you, but
pardon?
I had a couple of questions.
Oh, go ahead,
No,
go
it's
ahead.
fine, you
Go
you
ahead.
go first. I
Okay.
want to pull up your grant application.
So I would just officially like to invite the whole of council to Sunrise. And probably our building inspector and Courtney, because we feel that it's important. I know you've heard about Sunrise, and we find that when somebody actually comes out and experiences what happens there and understands what we're trying to do, they're actually blown away, because they can't believe. They see children on horses, but they don't know all the other programs that happen there. And in the summer, we were approached by the Upper Grand District School Board for a summer wellness program, and they have youth at risk. That we always think it kind of happens in high school with teenagers, but these were young 8-year-olds who, from dysfunctional families and very other reasons they were there. It had to be with the consent of their parent. It was free through the Board of Education. But we already have over 50 children on site every day, weekday of the summer at camp, which is totally inclusive. But we couldn't say no to this, so we stretched ourselves further, and we were one of the top programs that were invited by Upper Grand, and they said the impact on the young people was phenomenal, and with their schoolwork and so many other things that it affected. So we're probably going to be asked to do that again next year. I just think it's good for you to know that, because we're in your backyard.
Okay, thank you. So just pulling up your application for the grant, and you've indicated that there's some items that can be removed. So the item
Sorry,
you indicated, you've already done the furnace.
yeah.
So that one's not being applied for now, that
Well,
monetary.
yeah,
value.
because we have to come, it's already in, because we had to put it in.
So you're still wanting the full amount, you're just stating that those things.
Well,
that
no, I
happen
mean,
ahead
we'll have to, I think if we had to choose two of these, things that we put in for, the 2 projects, we would choose the pool and the tools. 65. And then we will go after funding for the other. We had to borrow from another account in order to put our furnace in, but obviously we need to pay it back.
Okay, so the tools for, I don't get too far into these. I just see the maintenance of the tractor is not a 1 year.
Pardon?
The maintenance of the tractor is not a 1 year thing, that's going to be.
No, it isn't. We've
perpetuity,
got other
right?
farm equipment too.
Yeah,
It's, we need the appropriate tools.
and this automatic pool cleaner, have you done your research on those? They can sometimes work, sometimes not.
Well, I've had one in
Yeah.
previous years of my own and it was fine. So,
Is it robotic or is it,
it was a long time ago.
because, I worry that sometimes things are advertised as fixing the solution,
Yeah.
but real world use of it.
Well, we have very good people advising us, and certainly we would not purchase anything without doing a great deal of research, which we always do.
And-
Because any money we have we're very frugal with the way we spend our money and make sure that it's put in positive use.
Right.
And if we got it, you'd get a report on it, so
Well,
if you wanna have another report a year or 2 years down the road, we can do that as well.
how much do summer students work for? Like, how many hours can you get for $3,000? Or is it more feasible to fund a summer student at half the cost to vacuum your pool? I don't know these.
No, because our summer students are with the children. That's what we get funding for through the government. They're with the children. And we have children that have meltdowns during camp and things. We run a very, well, there are people here who know about our program, but, personally, and I mean, we run a very efficient program with very certified staff, but few staff that wear many hats. And we wouldn't be applying for it if we didn't think it was essential to the program and to the public health maintenance. So.
When you're done.
I'm finally done, yeah. That was it.
So I think it was maybe a couple things. So one is just the point of clarity on the furnace has already been replaced, so that kind of comes off, which I think I got clarity on that one. The seating, just as an aside, I work in the ag industry. Certainly if this isn't decided here, love to have a conversation offline, certainly. I think there's great opportunity for seed companies to help sponsor or support or donate or whatever.
Well, I have a farming background as well, so I know, and we put their name on the pasture so everybody can see.
Yeah, so if there is any desire there, I've done lots of those projects in the past. And I think there's good opportunity to get some funding that realm. And maybe the last one is, I'd certainly welcome the opportunity to come visit the facility. I think I visited the donkey sanctuary, and I think that was a really eye-opening experience, just to understand all the work that they do. And I would probably view, although different role, certainly welcome that at the right time, just to understand all the nuances that go on there. So
I appreciate that.
I think that was really it, just to understand what's coming off, to make sure I heard that right.
And we do, I should specify, we're just not an isolated organization. We do belong to the Canadian Therapeutic Riding Association. And actually, I'm the chair for the accreditation committee across Canada. And I do know that we have a flagship here in the township.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Give a resolution, receive the delegation.
The council receives the delegation by Ann Kane from Sunrise Therapeutic Riding and Learning Center regarding the 2024 grant application program for information.
We're gonna move on, Councilor Slow, second by Councilor Gilly, all in favor? All right, that's carried. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're getting the meat and potatoes. We will do the old school say. Potatoes, like we're helping, I guess. Grant program application. How do we want to approach this? I will just go around in order of business and ask if there's ones that you're not supportive of, or if you wanted to amend the amounts, and we'll hopefully come up with a bit of a consensus. And we don't need the whole rationale, but I hate your high points if you like, or if you don't. Anyway, so Councilor Lewis.
Yes, my answers can be predicated on the fact that we got a tight budget, it's even tighter than last year. So I'm looking to get to 12,000 or so, as close as possible. And I'm also looking at it from the point of view, what have we done for these people in the past and the amounts that we've given. So from my perspective, soccer, we've done a lot for them. I know that there are 2 items are not eligible, so I feel we've done a lot with respect to soccer field, giving them a break on field rentals, so I would say no to that. Sunrise, again, we've done a lot for them, right? I know that the deputy has talked about, this is operating versus capital, but the end, it comes from the same pocket, our taxpayers, so they don't see the difference whether it goes to capital operating. So last year, 70K, cost avoidance for them for the development charges. Right now, they're accumulating interest at a rate of about $600 to $700 a month, and that's gonna amount to a fair chunk of change at the end when they get the development done. So accordingly, I really don't want to support Sunrise, given that we've done a lot. Friends of Mill Creek have declared a conflict of interest. Whistle Stop, I'm a little bit disappointed that we continue to see Whistle Stop being late. I know they do a lot of good work. I really have difficulty supporting them when they can't submit on time. I just don't want this to be a habit which other applicants will say, we give them a free ride all these years, why can't I get a free ride? So accordingly, so I'm suggesting no soccer, no Sunrise, no Whistle Stop.
All right, thank you, Councilor Spose. Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think in a small municipality like ours, it's really important to support the groups that are on the ground doing all this volunteer work where residents are directly impacted. I don't think it's a very huge budgetary impact. I'd like to see us use the full amount. The only thing I had also flagged was the Puslinch Minor Soccer, so it sounds like 2 of the items were not eligible, so that brings them down to a request of 1,550.
Sorry, say that number again. I just wanted to-
1,550.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure where the Creef Hills Retreat Center amount has come from, but I've put a bit of thought into that program. I think it sounds like a really neat sort of opportunity for our residents to take advantage of. I do see it though as a way we could maybe subsidize the payment. If as a resident, if I wanted to go and take a course, I would kind of expect to pay for it. So if they're wanting to offer a free program, I was going to suggest maybe we cut that in half and offer to subsidize the program. Sunrise has indicated that now there's 2 things come off the list, so it looks like they're now requesting 6,500. And I think all of that would work within the 24,993 budgeted amount. So I would support all of that.
So the budget amount is 12,000 and change.
No, 24,993.
Sorry, but what's in the current operating budget is 12 and change carryover from last year. So anything above that is a levy increase, which isn't included in your report today. So the number we're at for proposed increase, if we don't stay at the grant approvals level from last year, is in addition to what you're seeing as an increase. So
Okay, I need clarification on that then, because in the report here, it says it's based on 0.5% of the previous year's taxation levy.
that's the policy to, I'll let Mary answer this in a second. That's the policy stating how much we should own, the maximum ceiling is the equivalent of half a point of a 1% increase. In 2023, we did 12 and change. So because we cut it was a tough year. So that 12 and change was a carryover. Anything above that is a new levy increase for this year, above and beyond what, but the ceiling is the half point. So Ms. Hassan, am I explaining that correctly?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. So for clarification, if we continue to not increase it, then every year we will have less and less to work within. Is that right?
I'll take a stab at that. We won't have less to work with, because we'll still have 12,000, but the 12,000 will represent less of a amount towards a 1%, because the 1% tax levy increase continues to climb. When I first started, and Jessica, when we first started, I think it was 38. Now it's at 50. So that 12,000 becomes a less number when you see it on your report. So this is a bit of an eye opener for me. Last year, by reducing it, we did save some money and some impact, but now to get back to, say, going to full 0.5% of a 1% tax levy increase, it is a levy increase in the future. So when we want to support anything above the 12 and change, it's gonna be more of a levy increase. And I believe that's what Councillor Spoulos was trying to keep us to.
That was what I'm trying to do, it's absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me do a little math then.
Sure. Ms. Hassan, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you said it perfectly. So the 12,115 is what's currently in the base budget, and it was based on last year. And as our mayor indicated, what's noted in the report is the ceiling in accordance with the policy.
Who's taking notes for this meeting? Who's you? Can you mark down that she mentioned that I did that perfectly?
It's also on recorded video.
So we're good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll give you a good start.
Yeah.
It took 5 years, Mary. Did you do something right? No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Councillor Hurst.
The record show. So, thanks for that clarity, Councillor Bailey, because I was
Yeah.
under the same impression, so I think it's just doing a bit of quick math here. I'll just maybe take the same tack that Councillor Sapoulis did. I think just walking through my list, no issues with the Ag Society, the Farmers Market. I had some questions on the Creek Hills Retreat, just in terms of what that was and the numbers and how that added up. So I thought Councillor Bailey had a novel approach of like a % subsidy. I think that might be worth exploring. Ellis Chapel, no issues. Friends of Mill Creek, I think do awesome work. The Optimist Club, same thing. Minor soccer, you know, I have a soft spot in my heart for minor soccer, but based on the application, 2/3 of the request is out of scope. So I'd be supportive of the $1,050, I believe, off the top of my head. Sunrise, I was questioning just because that's more of a complicated one. And maybe my one thought on Whistle Stop was, and I get that we have timelines for reasons. And if they weren't compliant with that, I think to me, that's the first one out. And I say that having both of my children attended Whistle Stop, and it is a fantastic experience for youth. And so I'm sensitive to that, but maybe the one compromise in that would be is if there's support to grant them the funding, there's a provision there that, you know, if it's late in the future, like deals off type of thing as the last warning type of thing. And I get that the timelines sync with the school calendar and maybe there's some administrative challenges there, but I'll stop there. But I think I'm supportive of keeping the max funding to that $12,000 range. I think that's prudent financially from my perspective. I'll stop there with my comments.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit here, Councillor Hurst. First, I just need a little more clarity just for me for running the meeting on the Sunrise. Were you supportive of full amount out, just the two items that our delegate, deputation, that's what you call it, deputation, mentioned, just because it's gonna help me kind of steer this next part.
I would say they're the lowest on my list in terms of priority, due to the fact that there's been a lot of funding and support provided their way in the past.
And the other thing I'm gonna just give you some homework on is, we just discussed, tally up your support and just see what number your support for the amounts you're wanting to support are above the 12,115. Because that's gonna give you an indication of being the levy increase to do those supports, okay? And Councillor Goya.
Yeah, so I guess I would echo Councillor Bailey's sentiment, that you know, as a small rural municipality that doesn't have the resources to offer municipally run programs, I think supporting a lot of these groups is increasingly important. In hindsight, I regret that we cut that back last year, because I think that really now puts us in a difficult position this year to be able to provide up to that ceiling, because now it's a substantial increase. I agree with Councillor Hurst that I think it's prudent to stay as reasonably close to that amount in what is looking like a tough fiscal year. But if there is room, any room to gradually over time increase that back to what that ceiling was, I would also be supportive of that. In terms of the individual applications, oh, my computer just shut off. Okay, so I think the Councillor Bailey had a good thought with the CREEF program. It sounds like a really great opportunity, but I don't disagree that, you know, registering into a program, maybe there is some user cost. I think if I did the math correctly, that it worked out to be about 80 to 100 people that would be able to participate in those programs throughout the course of the year, and divide that by what they applied for. If we cut that in half and provided a $1,370 grant, if I'm calculating this correctly, they could offer those courses at roughly between $18 to $20 per person to participate, which I don't think is unreasonable. So that was just a thought I had on that. In terms of, sorry, I'm just going to open this back up. Sorry. In terms of this lunch minor soccer, I do think this is a valued organization in our community. I think that the township has demonstrated that we value them through the extensive consultation we've done with this lunch minor soccer for the new PCC grounds, the pursuing of the grant funding to get the fields lit, the resodding, the waiving of fees during construction season. So I do think that we have shown a lot of good support for this lunch minor soccer in the past, and we do value them. But I think that there's plenty of other organizations here who have applied for grants that haven't had those same benefits. So I, at this time, will not support this lunch minor soccer. I hear what everyone's saying about Whistle Stop. I would agree that if we are going to grant that, it should be contingent on that we won't accept late applications in the future. And I have declared on Sunrise, which is a big part of your conversation, so that it's not overly helpful, but.
Word. Okay, thank you. So where I land, we'll keep it pretty short, is the Agricultural Society I'm in, Agricultural Farmers Market I'm in, Creve Hills I'm in at 2740, especially since the clarity from the questions that came out. It does for my local Alice Chapel I'm in, Friends of Mill Creek I'm out, because I support their organization. I think they do great work. They're just healthier than some of our other grant applications. Optimus I'm in, Minor Soccer Club I'm out. I feel that we have supported them, you know, especially with the soccer field resodding. We just spent $8,000 there. So we are behind them. We value their participation in the community, but our support has been coming from other avenues right now. And then Whistle Stop, I'm in agreement that we should, I would entertain a reduction maybe to half. And a letter stating that you need to get your application in on time to be even considered, because we've been very lenient for 3 years. And I also recognize that I think the new board starts in September, but they just need to administratively make that decision with the old board to get the application in. So that can happen in a timely manner. That's important. So with the ones all in without reducing, Whistle Stop. I get a total of 13,240. Now I would. So I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding this, Mrs. Sand. Because the minor soccer club got 2,115. No, it doesn't make sense, so here, so I have a total of $13,240. I agree with the statements that. I have some regrets on. I have looking back regrets on reducing the grants. But I also support the decision back then because we were a challenging year, so. I agree that we need to work to get it back up closer to that half a point. So I've heard 3 people out for soccer, so we could hold a vote or just come to a consensus on that one. As I proposed, it's 13,240. I would entertain a conversation of adding either 3,000 or 6,000 for Sunrise. That would do 2 things. It would show our support for Sunrise. Maybe at $3,000, get the cool equipment. And then it would also get us $3,000 closer to being, more in line with our policy of the maximum ceiling of half a point. So everybody's in for soccer decision, right? The week declare pecuniary on that one. So 3 of us said no. You guys are comfortable with accepting that soccer is out? Or should we have a vote on it? You want a formal vote?
I can accept it.
Okay, so soccer's out. Whistle Stop, is everybody in agreement with sending them a letter? Now, that letter doesn't need to be too harsh. But just, I would like it to say that council's direction, they've indicated to advise that. For the 2025 application period, it shall be submitted on time.
So I have just some wording drafted. The notice be provided to Whistle Stop Cooperative Preschool advising that exceptions to receive a late application will no longer be provided and that future grant application requests will only be considered if submitted within the prescribed timelines.
Can you put the actual deadline in 2024 in that letter?
We can expand on it and whatever assistance they need, if it is a new sort of board that's gonna be submitting it, our team can help provide that support.
Hopefully,
Go ahead, you first.
I was just wondering if council would have some appetite to adding something like that into the policy, stating there is a deadline and here's the repercussions if it's not, whether there's a reduction in your asked amount or what the penalty is, and actually just have that stated within the policy.
I don't believe the policy gives any leniency to be late. It's just that staff, through maybe hearing some people ask them to be lenient, have allowed these late applications to come forward because they recognize that these are important programs that are run by volunteers. And in my mind, if I hear of a situation where they're late and their volunteer organization I want to help them and then advise them it needs to be on time, but when it happens 3, 4, 5 years, it becomes unacceptable. I still think staff should have a little bit of flexibility that if an organization comes forward, their first application, they're late, they say, well, you're late. If you put a note on the agenda, council can consider it, but I like them having that ability. We put it firm in there, it's tough. That's just my feedback, Councilor Billy. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask staff, is there any magic that the grant application has to be August 31st? Can we make it mid-September to allow these guys to go in? In other words, look at the problem the others.
That's a good idea.
Be September 30th might be a clean day.
Yeah, whatever works. Yeah, just
30 days has September from June.
And then also allow for more up-to-date financials.
sure. Well, that's my thought. Get over it.
Sure.
So through Mr. Chair, maybe our Director of Finance could comment on extending or just shifting the grant application timelines out to the end of September. I'm not sure if that impacts anything from finance team's processing perspective.
The end of September should be okay, given we usually report on operating in November or December, so end of September should be fine.
I want that in the letter. state that we've council directed to extend it to help you whistle stop, be compliant with policy, because I hate it when it's challenging when community groups don't recognize when we do try to do things to help them.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if they know.
And Ms. White Fox, the policy is worded that it's, the deadline for submission is by 2 p.m. on the last business day of August, so perhaps just change that to the 2 p.m. on the last business day of September.
Because the 30th falls on a Sunday, that's not helpful.
Yeah, right.
The motion for that, or was it-
I have it incorporated into our draft motion for now. That works.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor,
No, it's all good. Okay, so where were we? We were dealing with the whistle stop, so right now, been floated around the letter, I think there's consensus, but the how much for their funding, just go around the table real quick.
I understand it's a good program, and I'm willing to, since we changed the date to comment, to leave it at 1K.
Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, support that.
All right, so I pitched mine. What are your councilors' thoughts on leaving out soccer? You can't talk about, I don't know. I'll get everybody's opinion. Don't talk about the ones you have disclosure community schools.
Yeah, Sunrise, I'm still 18.5. I really can't see moving on it, if we want to stay within a target of maybe 2,000-3,000 above the 12. If we can do that, sure, but right now I don't think the numbers work.
So Mrs. Sand, can you confirm these numbers? If we do Agricultural Agricultural Society full amount, Agricultural Farmers Market full amount.
Sorry, Mayor Sealy, just 1 second. So Egg Society full amount,
Yeah, Farmers Market full amount. Creek Hills full amount. Ellis Chapel full amount. Optimist Club full amount. And Whistle Stop full amount. And then 3,000 for Sunrise. What's our total?
sorry, what did you say for Friends of Mill Creek
0.
and the Optimist Club
Full amount.
and Porcelain Minor Soccer Club 0, right?
0.
And Sunrise, you said 3,000?
2,000.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, 3,000 for Sunrise.
And then Whistle Stop was how much?
1,000.
Sorry, just give me 1 second.
So two numbers I would like to council to see is the total and the amount above last year's grant funding, please.
I'm getting 16,240. Based on what was just indicated for those applicants.
So 4,200 and something dollars. In addition to the 2023 levels, what's the number?
Yeah, $4,125 if we want to be at the level of 2023. Which is what's currently in the base budget.
We're on a discrepancy in math. I'm coming up with 14,290. Do you want to just read off the numbers that you heard me say? Maybe I missed something.
Yeah, so Aberfoyle Agricultural Society, 3,000. Aberfoyle Farmers Market, 3,000. Creek Hills, 2,740. Ellis Chapel, 500. Friends of Mill Creek, 0. Optimist Club, 3,000. Porcelain Minor Soccer Club, 0. Sunrise, 3,000. Whistle Stop, 1,000. I'll just do the math one more time on my end. Yeah, I'm still getting 16,240.
This one of the final numbers. I won't be able to, because they do family day, they do Canada Day, they do a lot of stuff that we would have to pay through the T for if we had to do it. Okay, so let's just throw that out in the room. It was 16,240. For grants. And we were at 4,000 tax levy, which is 10%, a little bit less. %. All right, we'll go around the room and talk about the ones you can and don't talk about the ones you can't. Well, close.
Well, okay, Mr. Mayor, I understand the sentiment around the table is, we sort of want to start inching up. And, I can support that on the premise we want to start inching up. I'm good with that number.
Okay. Yes, Bailey.
So I'd like to support Friends of Mill Creek. I don't know if putting 0 there is what I want to do. So I was going to propose we do Brief Hills in half. And that way we're helping subsidize the program, but not fully. And then maybe we could just do Friends of Mill Creek at 2,000.
Okay, so my only concern with that is we don't know the Creek Hills can run the program if we cut their funding in half.
Well, it just means they could provide to less people. So they could still provide a program, but it maybe isn't for as many as they would want, or they could start to charge for the program.
The response was that they would charge.
They would charge.
I'll just go around and we'll come back. So Creek at half, and then the Creek at half doesn't equate to 2,000 to Friends of
No.
Mill Creek.
No. So you could do half of Friends of Mill Creek if you want the math to be closer.
So how about we do the half removed from Creek goes to Mill Creek at most, because then the numbers stay the same at 16,240.
Yeah.
So
That's
just for.
Yeah, that's close.
Digest.
So that number I'm getting is 1,370 for Creef Hills and Friends of Mill Creek.
Yeah, that's not for sure yet. I gotta go around the horseshoe.
Okay,
Creek Hills.
But that's what I'm thinking, yes.
And, okay, Councilor Hurst.
I'm supportive of Councillor Bailey's amendment. I think it's a good signal. I think I'll leave it at that. The rest I'm good with.
Councilor Goida? Are you in this?
Yeah, I am, and I think that is a good idea that Council Bailey brought up. In terms of Friends of Mill Creek, I just feel obligated to say that if you look at their financials, they are operating on strictly donations, which have been gradually decreasing over time. And if you look through the 2023 budget, they are slated to lose over $9,000. To me, that puts that program at risk, and I think it's very valuable. The Ranger program is very valuable to the county as a whole. So I would like to see us contribute to Friends of Mill Creek. Whether that amount is 1,370, I was going to propose 1,500, which is half of what they asked for. To get in the weeds a little bit, I also support the farmers market, but looking at their financials, they are in a good financial place based on their financials. So if we just reallocate some money here, there, or otherwise, but I am in support of this the total amount of 16,240.
You are disposed, okay. First question, if we support only half of Creek's grant application and they don't run the program, are they obligated to return the money? Or how does that process work? Or once we hand it to them, it's kind of like hope that it happens the way they described.
So through Mr. Chair, maybe our Director of Finance could comment on the program, if the program has any specific criteria or eligibility requirements related to reporting back on fulfilling whatever those program details are in relation to the grant.
The reporting requirements for grants greater than 3,000 are that they must provide information about like the final results of the grant and the amounts paid.
Okay. You bring up a valid point, Councillor Goyda. I did see that the MNRF had removed the 12K grant to the Friends of Mill Creek, and that was a big hit. We are very supportive of the Everfall Farmers Market Council. What are your thoughts on reducing the Everfall Farmers Market from 3 to 2K? And putting that 1,000 onto the Friends of Mill Creek to basically bring them to full funding. So the 1,000 would be 2,370, but for $630, we could do full funding on Friends of Mill Creek. So just thoughts on that, reducing the farmers market by 1,000 and topping up Friends of Mill Creek basically to their full funding ask due to, as Councillor Goyda mentioned, it appears as they've lost a lot of support in recent past. Councillor Schools.
Yeah, I don't want to comment about Friends of Mill Creek or the profit, but I do, I am supportive of the bottom line number to, that you had originally, how it's reallocated.
Okay. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I don't want to complicate this, but if we're taking half the Creek Hills to the Friends of
Mill Creek, which is 1370.
Mill Creek, and then we just use the farmer's market to top up, then the farmer's market's gonna end up with 2,200 and something.
Well, they asked for 3, so.
Yeah, so whatever the top up is.
1,700.
No, they,
Because Friends of Mill Creek would be at 1,370, so 3,000 minus 1,370 is 630, 1,630. So you'd be bringing our farmers market down to 2,470 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
No, 14, sorry, what is it, 1,470? So in half, that's why I went 1,000,
we're starting Friends of Mill Creek at 0 or at 1,000?
1,370. Because that's half of the creek funding,
Oh, we're just, okay. I
then
was gonna leave 1,000 in there, add the 1,370 and then top up from the farmer's market.
that's not, I don't think that's supported. That would be adding, you go from 16,240 to a minimum of 17,240 plus. I think the general consensus around the table is to try to stay as close to the 16,240. That creeps us up a little bit, so.
Okay,
So I'm not going by it yet. Half of creek funding goes to Mill Creek Rangers,
yes,
You want-
but I was gonna start Mill Creek Rangers at 1,000.
but that's added, that's adding 1,000.
Well, it's removing 2 from what's proposed.
But proposed didn't capture the actual increases involved in the budget, so
Okay.
by doing that, it adds a levy. So that's why you gotta look at the total numbers. The Everfall Farmers Market was in there last year.
Yeah.
So if you can either take them down to 2,000 and redistribute that money, or, and then I'm trying to sneak in a little bit more than 16,240 without Councillor Schools figuring it out. So
Good luck.
I'm saying that we would put the 1,000 on Friends of Mill Creek, but then ultimately give them their full funding, which would add a few $100, which would bring us to 16,7 something.
Rounding your,
So
13.
Sorry.
Sure,
it's a lot of numbers.
Okay.
But.
I'm okay going slightly over the 16,240, so I wasn't too worried about that.
Yeah, it'll be a bit higher, but. Did I muddy it pretty bad?
I'm good. It's about a $600 bump from what had been established, so I think I'm good with
cut the farmer's market back
Two-
1,000.
2K to the farmer's market, top up the Mill Creek Stewardship, I think they do great work too. And so I think that's good, like, we're talking, not to be flippant, but it's $600, like, for a lot of really good stuff.
Isn't it incredible the small numbers we spend the most time talking about? It's at all levels, got well, not a promise, but anyways, okay. So it's sounding like I got consensus over there, Councilor Goida,
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much.
and besides,
Yeah, I'm okay with,
the little number bump there. Okay, so
What's our total?
she just had it up.
It's, I have captured and maybe to confirm with the new amount, 16,870 total.
Okay, let's go line by line for what we're giving, and do you want me to read it or what you have?
Maybe I can read what I have.
Let me read what you have, and I'll let you read it. To Bill's Ellis. Yeah. There's more. isn't there?
Yes, that's so I have them divided up.
Oh,
So everyone can vote.
okay. Oh, right. No, that's gonna confuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, Ms. Sassana, you ready?
Yeah, I'll add it up.
Okay, we have Egg Society 3,000. You just kick me if I say this wrong. We have Farmers Market at 2,000. We have Creek Hills at 1,370. Do we need to send a letter stating that we're funding half, or did we just figure that out? We'll figure it out.
Oh, we do send letters to all of the successful applicants, and we will just indicate that it was a very tough budget year, so.
Yeah, and we're hoping that they can just have, implement a user fee to cover the balance. Ellis Chapel 500, Friends of Mill Creek 3,000, Optimist Club Plus Lunch 3,000, Soccer Club 0, Safety Simplify, Sunrise 3,000, and Whistle Stop 1,000.
Yeah, I'm getting 16,870 as well.
Perfect. Okay, so the resolution is my box.
Yes, so I've divided them up into 4 resolutions based on the conflicts. So the first one is the council report FIN 2023-033 entitled 2024 grant application program we received. And the council approves the grant allocations amounting to 7,870 as outlined below. Royal Agricultural Society 3,000, Aberfoyle Farmers Market 2,000, Creek Hills Retreat 1,370, Ellis Chapel 500, Wilson Schweiner Soccer Club 0, Whistle Stop Cooperative Preschool 1,000, and the notice we provided to Whistle Stop Cooperative Preschool advising that exceptions to receive late applications will no longer be provided, and that future grant application requests will only be considered if submitted within the prescribed timelines. And that council directs staff to amend the submission deadline for the grant application program to be the last business day of September at 2 p.m. going forward to better support organizations in meeting these submission deadlines.
That resolution for late submissions will no longer be accepted. Can we, from Whistle Stop Preschool? Because as I mentioned earlier, if a late submission comes in from some other community group that's new to it, it doesn't automatically exclude them due to this council resolution. Is council comfortable with that? But what we're gonna do is we're gonna treat each applicant individually. And this one's shown a pattern of being late for, I believe, every year. Is that okay?
I have noted that.
Thank you. Okay, that's the first one that everybody can
The first
vote
one that
on?
everyone can vote.
Okay, so you've heard the resolutions, you're comfortable that you're allowed to vote on them, all in favor?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Hurst, sorry,
No, good.
all in favor again? Good.
Okay, so the next one, I believe Councillor Goida has a conflict. The council approves the grant funding allocations amounting to 3,000 as outlined below. Sunrise Therapeutic Writing and Learning Center, 3,000.
You're a mover, Mr. Spillis, second with Councillor Hurst, all in favor? It's carried, you didn't vote.
The next one, is Friends of Mill Creek, so I believe we have 2 conflicts for this one.
Who is the two, one's John and
And wait, Jessica, no, you don't, okay. Just one.
Just
Okay, so the council approves the grant allocations amounting to 3,000 as outlined below, Friends of Mill Creek, 3,000.
all right,
You may want to add in the Optimist Club in there too.
Oh, because you're out on both.
Yeah.
Yep, I could do it at the same time then. Thank you. And the Optimus Club of Plus Lunch for 3,000 amounting to a total of 6.
Good, moved by Councilor Hurst, second by Councilor Bailey. Right, all in favor, let me know. All right, that's carried. Does that cover
That's
it
it.
all?
That's it.
All right, good job. Good work, everyone. All right, I believe Ms. Hassan has the chair for report FIN 2023-034.
Yes, thank you very much. So this is just our regular insurance renewal for the policy term January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2025. We received 2 quotes this year from both Intact Public Entities, which was our previous insurance provider, and Marsh Canada Limited, who's our current provider. And so there's some recommendations in the report, and I also have Randy Bushy, who's our insurance expert on public sector insurance in the meeting as well, in case there are more technical questions that I'm not able to answer. But I would be happy to answer any of council's questions.
I'm just gonna move Randy over. I jumped the gun. I apologize. Randy did the review about. You're welcome, Randy. We hear you. You hear us? No, you have to unmute yourself there.
Can you hear me okay there now?
There we go.
Yep.
So welcome. I don't know if you heard me or not. Thanks for coming today. And it's my understanding you reviewed the 2 proposals we received for insurance, and maybe you could give council just a high level overview of what you did and reassurances you may have that they're equal.
Sure. Would you like me to start that now, Mayor Seeley?
Sure.
First of all, let me apologize. My wife is having our kitchen renovated, and it was supposed to be done last week, and there was a problem, and of course it got delayed to today. So if you sense the ground shaking at my end, that's what it's from. The process that we went through, I went through together with Mary, was once she had obtained both quotations, it was my job to go through and do some comparative analysis. Both programs are very good. In the municipal insurance space in Ontario, there are very few players, and they are all deep, experienced, and long-term. As Mary indicated, the new proposal from Intact is what used to be called the Frank Cowan Company, and they insured Poos Lynch up until 2020, at which point the account was moved to the program that's done by Marsh. And so both firms are very well familiar with Poos Lynch, with your risk appetite, etc. The idea of buying insurance is to be able to transfer the risk from your shoulders onto the shoulders of the insurance company. And so both programs are excellent programs. With any comparison of programs, once you get into the fine print, the policy wordings, there are literally hundreds of pages of wordings to an account the size of Poos Lynch. I've not reviewed the wordings, but I'm pretty familiar with them, and I did review the other documentation that was provided. And there are literally hundreds of changes from one to the other. Many of them are probably somewhat irrelevant and maybe even difficult to understand, but we have reviewed the key differences. Mary and I had reviewed them together. We took some of them back to the insurers, and that caused them to, in a few cases, strengthen the coverage that they were given, because we had pointed out some things that we thought were deficiencies or differences that were detrimental to Poos Lynch. The big issue, because the premiums are so close together, although I know the premium is much more than you want to pay, all municipalities are seeing increases in their premiums. The premiums are very comparable. The big difference, the primary difference, I'd argue, has to do with liability deductibles. And your program with Marsh this year was going to carry a $50,000 liability deductible, whereas Intact, the old Frank Cowan program, is giving a $25,000 deductible on liability. That's a pretty significant difference. And because many of the other issues compare favorably between the two companies, like they're both strong companies, very broad in their scope of coverage, I think that one issue of the deductible tilts the game in favor of Intact. And so my recommendation is that if you choose to go back to Intact, you should be very comfortable doing that. The other benefit that you have is that you have two strong players very familiar with your account and very much wanting to do business with Poos Lynch. And that puts you in a very good position, because in the future, if coverage in some way declines or if price increases, it's good to have another option that you can quickly go to, obtain a quotation, and it does help to keep the incumbent honest and serious in the game. But again, they're both good players, and that's a summary of my findings.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bullis, anything?
If I don't have any questions on your analysis, but I have one question with respect to when we want to renew the insurance next year. My understanding is 2024, the large claims from previous years are no longer valid. In other words, your premiums should start decreasing. Do you have a feel for what sort of decrease we should be expecting once we go out again next year?
I don't, and I don't think anybody could give you a very realistic picture of that. So what the underwriters are trying to do is to measure the risk, and then also measure, based on the historical claims history, how they would project claims for the future. Now, that's a very imperfect way, because just because somebody's had a poor claims history for 10 years doesn't necessarily mean it will continue. Conversely, somebody who's had no claims for 10 years could run into a streak of so-called bad luck and have claims. But generally, claims trends tend to continue, and it's a reflection of the managing of risk. So Poos Lynch has been progressing and getting better on that whole issue of your claims history. I think your account continues to be very desirable, and that's why both players are involved in trying to quote on it. However, they may give you a projection for the coming years, but the pricing of insurance products is really a global issue, because so much of the reinsurance, that's the insurance that the insurance companies carry. Every insurance company that you deal with on your home, on your car, or in the township is insuring again with other insurers, and they in turn insure with other insurers. So it gets to be this complicated financial network around the globe. And because nobody is insuring everything themselves, they don't have control over future pricing. Reinsurers and retrocessionaires are the ones who ultimately call the shots, and those are big global players, often coming out of Lloyd's, sometimes domiciled in the US, often in Europe, and they're the ones, when they decide to bring about increases, the ripple effect is felt around the globe. So that's why I say it's impossible to project. Generally, though, in the municipal space, claims are continuing to grow at a quicker rate than inflation. And so I think you're going to have to expect that the rate of increase in your premiums will exceed inflationary increases. That's my projection, but that's a very general projection, because it's going to again be based on your claims history and your risk appetite. Is that helpful?
It is very helpful. Thank you very much. All right.
Councilor Bailey?
Thank you. I guess, I don't know who to direct the question to, whether it's just for staff or for yourself. I'm just wondering, I'm assuming this A loss of words. I assume we're locking into a year's insurance
Yes.
here, but if our claim history is changing partway through 2024, I'm just wondering what the flexibility is in putting out an RFP partway through the year, or if we have to wait until the end of the year, how that works, and if there'd be any savings partway through.
Sure. What underwriters typically look at is they look at the severity of claims. That means how big the claims are, and they look at the frequency of claims. Now, severity itself is only one measurement. If I can use sort of a crass example, if I'm backing out of my driveway and I back over a child's bicycle, that's inconsequential. If there's a child on the bicycle, you can understand that's a huge issue. The circumstances are identical and my negligence is identical, but the outcome is significantly different. And that's the nature of claims, right? Sometimes something bad happens and you get lucky and it's not that serious. Sometimes something that was really the way you do it again tomorrow occurs and the consequences are devastating. So that's one thing to remember. But the frequency of claims is typically what underwriters want to see because that demonstrates the way that risk is managed. And there are some municipalities that just consistently year after year, and sometimes even decade after decade, have poor claims records. And they get to be known, and that gets to be projected forward. In your situation, if you were to have a run of bad claims over the next 6 or 8 months, it would probably not be the best time to go out for other quotations because you know that the risk appetite of the underwriters is going to be negatively impacted by that bad string or that bad run of claims. But based on where you've been, if you chose to go out to an RFP, and there aren't very many other players that are going to respond anyway, but if your claims history continues to be strong, that's when you want to do it. When there's some appetite in the marketplace and when your own claims history is good. And so Mary will keep an eye on that. And if the claims history continues to run well, it's a good time to go out if you choose to do that.
Can I interject? What I think the counselor was looking for an answer is, say the anniversary date, I'm just gonna make one up, of this 10-year historical claim was January 31st. The counselor is feeling that we're gonna be overpaying for insurance for 11 months. This is a 1-year contract, and I'm making an assumption here, but I assume there would be penalty clauses for canceling, and so that's the direction, you know. Why do we have to wait till the anniversary? Now, maybe the anniversary date may be December 31st, and it makes sense to wait till the following fiscal year. So that's the direction I think the council was looking for.
Sure. Can I just respond by saying that the 10-year claims history has been a fairly, it's a newer measurement. It used to be when the market was very overheated, that meant that there was great appetite on behalf of insurers to take on risk, and they were driving premiums down and there was hyper competition. They were all often only asking for 3 years or 5 years of claims history. The request for 10 years now is a reflection of this tightened, reduced appetite for risk, where insurers only want to insure the very best risks in a class. Goose Lynch, though, is an excellent risk, and that's why there's good competition on your premium. However, claims that are 8, 9, 10 years old, whereas they still show on the claims exhibits, there's much less impact on your current premium for a claim that's 8, 9, 10 years old versus one that's 2 or 3 years old, because they're trying to project the future based on the past, and the most immediate past is generally thought of as being the best predictor of the immediate future. So a 10-year-old claim that may be 9.5 years old is probably not going to make a big difference the day or two or the week or two after the 10 years expires. Is that helpful?
I think so. I don't know from staff when our anniversary date is and whether there's an opportunity to make a change at that date, I guess is my
So our
Yes.
anniversary date is until, the policy that we're entering in right now is up until January 1st, 2025. But our 10-year claim history improves, I believe, in July 2024. So usually a request for proposal process does take some time as well. So I would recommend that we stay with the January 1st, 2024, like the 1-year term that's being proposed in front of council, and we'll work on the RFP process in July in order to issue for a January 1st, 2025 renewal.
Okay, and I just had a,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, in addition to that, there are with any insurance company cancellation penalties if you terminate before the end of the year. The closer you get to the end of the year, the lower the percentage of penalty.
okay, thanks for that. Just what my last question was, I know we're leaving a program where we did have the $50,000 deductible. Was there a quote with a $50,000 deductible for Intact? And did it affect the cost?
Unfortunately, we did not receive the quote for the $50,000 deductible from Intact, as I believe it wasn't a recommendation from Intact specifically to increase our deductible to 50,000 based on other municipalities that they have engaged with. But Randy, if you can just maybe add to that if you have any insights.
Yes, Mary, the program with Marsh could give you a $25,000 deductible. They could price that out. The fact that they didn't give that as an option suggests to me that it was quite uncompetitive, because they knew that pushing you to a $50,000 deductible was going to be a tough pill to swallow, but their strategy was to push that direction because that's what they want. That's what their insurers want. This whole issue of them digesting risk or having an appetite for risk and going to 50,000 at their decision, not at yours, indicates that that's where they want to go, because the 25,000 deductible would render them uncompetitive price-wise. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just, I'm supportive of the staff recommendation. Maybe just 2 points of clarity. The first one for our Director of Finance, were there any other insurance providers that had provided a response to the RFP that teased out these 2 particular organizations that were omitted just due to, not being competitive at all?
So this was just a request for quote. So we received a quote from Intact, but when we did go out for RFP in 2020, I believe we only received 2 submissions, and that was from Marsh and Intact at the time. But Randy, maybe just, I see that you're nodding your head, so I think I'm correct in that.
Yes.
But there were 4 proponents that we did issue the RFP directly to, but only 2 submitted back in 2020.
And the reality is that a municipality or a township represents such a broad scope of risk that sometimes the players in this space just don't have insurers that want to take it on. It sounds simple to us. If you want to get car insurance, for example, there's lots of players you can go to out there and compare your quotations. In the municipal space, it's not the case. There have been up to 4 players, as Mary indicated. 2 of those players now that have not been involved have had some issues, as I understand it, in getting their insurers to the table on certain risks. And sometimes that's because an insurer will have an appetite for a very narrow type of risk within that field, within the municipal field. So the 2 that you've got, I would suggest, are the 2 frontline insurers that will continue to express interest in Poos Lynch as they did back in 2020.
Yeah, thanks. That's good to hear. And I appreciate your guidance on this one, Randy. Just as an aside, on the business side, my day job, we did a big insurance review, and we're up year to year 17%. So the numbers we're seeing, with at the municipal level, probably better than what I see on the commercial liability side. So take that for what it's worth. So I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate the level of detail going through this.
Yeah, Councilor Goyda?
Thanks so much for coming. I just had one question, which is really more just my own curiosity. In the intact breakdown, there's a line item in there of close to $10,000 for environmental liability. And I was just more curious, and the township doesn't have water or wastewater treatment facility or anything like that. So what specifically in the township would be covered under environmental? What environmental risks do we have in the township of Plymouth that are covered by that line item?
The primary issue has to do with underground fuel tanks. And because you don't have those water exposures that you described, that's taken into account by the underwriters when they're measuring and pricing the risk. So your risk is pretty minimal compared to a larger township or a larger city that has those other exposures. But underground tanks, underground fuel tanks, or above ground fuel tanks, any kind of fuel storage continues to be an environmental risk.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I don't exactly know where and how many fuel tanks we have here in the township, but
Sure.
that I don't need that detail. That's okay.
Well,
Thank you.
We actually had a little bit of a set to with one of the players that wanted to exclude one of your tanks because it was a single walled underground tank. It was only 8 years old, but they were so concerned about it that they were choking on having to insure it. And Mary and I discovered that and went back and confronted them with the issue. And once they knew that there was competition for the account, maybe I'm cynical, but once they knew there was competition for the account, I think that helped them to recognize that if they couldn't insure that tank, then we probably couldn't consider their proposal. And so they did. So both proposals were insuring all of your storage tanks. That's right, eh, Mary?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So you Randy, you mentioned that, years ago, insurers would look at a 3-year claims history, 5 years, and you explain the environment they operated in and why, and they then change it to 10. What's going to prevent them from changing it to a 15-year claims free? Is there some sort of standard they follow or association, or is it just willy-nilly and they just make up these numbers?
Yeah, unfortunately, they can decide to manage and measure the risk any way they want. The advantage is as long as there's competition in the municipal space, each of those insurers and the programs that represent them, Intact and Marsh, realize that if they become too cautious, too conservative, then they're going to lose the business they have and not have a good chance of obtaining other business. So it really is a capitalist system where they will charge us. I was in the insurance industry for 45 years. An insurance company will charge you as much as they can charge you and give you back as little as they can give back in the way of claims. Now, that's overstating it, right? Because these players that you're dealing with are professional. They realize they have contractual liability. They are also regulated by provincial and federal government authorities. So all of those safety nets are in there. However, insurance companies will charge you as much as they can charge because they're projecting ahead and they don't know what's going to happen. So here's a little measurement if you want one little piece of insurance 101 education. When interest rates are high, insurance companies tend to be much more competitive because they're hanging on to your money and generating income through interest. When interest rates are low, like they've been in recent years, that's when they have to make money on their on the actual insurance, on the risks that they're insuring. And if they take $240,000 from Puslinch and they end up paying out claims of $75,000, they've made money. If they end up paying out claims of $275,000 this year, they've lost money and they don't know where that's going to be. They're projecting ahead. And to the extent that they project accurately, they'll make money for their shareholders. And if they don't project accurately, they'll probably lose shareholders, they'll lose investment capital, they may even lose their jobs. It's that kind of situation where they have to measure and they have to be profitable to continue in business.
Yeah. So another thing you said that I would say is worrisome to me is, I think around this horseshoe, I'm not the only one that's hanging their hat on this anniversary date for the 10-year claim. But you did mention today that because of the age of that claim, yes, it's on, and I'm putting words in your mouth. Yes, they look at it, but it's already of a maturity that, it's not having as big of an impact on our premium. So I'll speak just for myself. I was optimistic that, for the next year of insurance, not the one we're in for today, the following year, that we're gonna see a reduction. And what I'm now starting to hear from you is we might not see a major, and I don't need a big explanation of this, but we may not see a major premium reduction because of the age of that claim already. So my comments to staff would be that if we do happen to see a pretty significant discount, I don't want that. I want that money, that discounted money, to be saved for our premium increases going forward, because you can see it in this report. When we first got the discount down to 71K in 2018-19, we've gone to 210. So we went down, and then that levy, this is getting into municipal stuff, levy went down, and we allotted it to somewhere else. And then we had to add levy back to it.
Yeah.
As the premium skyrocketed. So if we get into that boat again, where this claim comes off and we see a 50% discount, I want to be very cautious of what we do with that money that's already there for premiums, whether it go into a reserve or soften the blow future. So let's just plant and see. But back to the 10-year anniversary, just you were hinting at it, that maybe we won't see as big of a discount as we might be hoping for.
And I would be surprised, Mayor Seeley, if you see a discount at all. I know that's not what you want to hear. I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. I think what'll happen is that your excellent claims history will soften the impact of increases. In other words, your increase will be less than it would have been had you had more claims, or less than another neighboring municipality or township would have if their claims history was not as good as yours. So I don't think the decrease is going to be something that you should anticipate seeing in the next 3 years. I think increases are going to continue to be the way of the future.
That's good. I'm glad you said that, because I was not thinking that until you made that statement about the age of the claim, and we're already essentially seeing the benefits of that being 8-9 years old. So, okay, well, thank you, Randy. I think unless that's it from council, I'll have Ms. Whitebox read the resolution.
The report FIN 2023-034 entitled 2024 Municipal Insurance be received, and that council authorize awarding the municipal insurance coverage and services contract to Intact Public Entities Incorporated for the policy term being January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2025.
Can you move that, please? Councilor Spino, seconder. Councilor Hurst. I have one other question, but it's for Mr. Fowler. Is he on the call? Might lead to two questions. Mr. Fowler, without causing liability to the township, this underground fuel tank, storage tank, where is it, and do we have a plan in place to remove it? Is it still in use? I know we installed new above ground tanks. I don't know if there'd be much of a premium reduction, but is there a way to get rid of that thing, to get rid of that risk?
Are you, Mr. Mayor? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the underground tank was removed back in 2021. It was under the direction from, again, another insurance renewal. The township paid close to $40,000 to remove this tank, to establish new above ground tanks, which are leased from our fuel company. All proper security, bollards, Jersey barriers were placed around the new fuel tanks. And then moving forward, the township not only pays extra money to establish a new fuel system. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to make a difference when it comes to insurance claims or premiums. So insurance continues to rise. So not only is the township spending money on additional costs to remedy these, it really doesn't make a factor when it comes to renewal prices, obviously.
That's great. It makes me feel better that we don't have a tank in the ground somewhere that's already been removed, it's been dealt with. Okay, that's good news. That's what I was more worried about. If it doesn't end up being a reduction, that's fine. It's just been dealt with. So thank you. All right, so we have a mover and a seconder?
Yes, we do.
Okay, all in favor of that? Carried. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity of working with you and with Mary.
Thank you. We'll see you next year. All right, insurance. All right, now we're into the operating budget. Let me get to. All right, Ms. Hassan, did you want to give us a high level and then we'll start working through everything?
Yes, I can go through the report just at a high level. And I know a lot of detailed questions were asked, and we have provided it in the agenda questions and answers. So basically the first few pages of the report include the recommendations, which we can go through after. And then the next section just discusses the 2024 proposed base operating budget and what it includes. It includes adjustments for previous and current year actuals. It includes unavoidable documented base budget increases such as fuel, insurance, and calcium. And it includes new projects, initiatives, and service levels. And a lot of this came out of the service level discussions that we've had this year. I've included some tables in the report regarding where some of the increases in expenditures are being noted. And so the first table discusses items that were mandated internally through council approved policy or previous council direction. The second table discusses the mandated items externally through legislation, other agencies, or current economic trends. And then the last table just discusses some of the increases recommended by township staff. There's also decreases noted. It's not just increases, but there's increases and decreases. You'll notice that they're based on the user fees and charges bylaw that was passed by council and some of our actuals in our system. We're seeing an increase in revenues of about 617,000. And so that was noted on the first table, and that's based on the user fees and charges bylaw passed by council, as well as staff's review of the previous year actuals for our revenues in order to adjust them for 2024. The major items mandated externally through legislation, other agencies, or current economic trends include mandatory employer benefit cost contribution rates such as EI, CPP, and other group benefit costs. An increase in some of our contract services, such as the City of Guelph dispatch fees and our railway costs due to increases regulated by the federal government authorities. And an increase in fuel costs of 5% have been noted across the corporation. Conservation Authority levy payments based on their proposed budgets in accordance with the Conservation Act. And the municipal insurance premium costs that we discussed in the previous report. Some of the items recommended by township staff have been outlined in the third table. And some of the more significant items relate to the calcium and winter maintenance costs, and it's based on the previous year actuals where we've increased that item. And professional fees such as engineering and environmental. However, you will notice that we're also budgeting some recoveries in their corporate-wide based on our user fees and charges bylaw. Many of our planning fees are administrative fees, and then we invoice the applicants for any third-party fees. There's also some reductions in a couple of expenditure, a few expenditure accounts, not a couple, as outlined in the third table. The next section of the report discusses the proposed operating base budget increases and how we recommend that they be funded. And then the last table in the report discusses the discretionary reserve contributions. The 2023 approved budget amount versus the 2024 proposed budget amount. This includes all of our contributions to our various discretionary reserves, both capital and operating, that are being proposed. And I can answer any of council's questions at this time. That's just a high-level summary.
It's very, I don't know why I'm having a heck of a time finding the base budget increase pages. I had it wrote down here. In the agenda file, all I have is the grant applications. And when I go to the shared file, and I had wrote down page 55. Anyways, is this it? Anyways, I think I've got it. All right, I believe the first base budget increase that we need to discuss is bylaw. Maybe you can share that page.
Let me share my screen. Will that help? Yeah. Or maybe our director of finance can share.
Sure, that'd be fine.
No?
So, Mary, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen just as we go along, I've just enabled screen sharing.
We're on page, I have page 3652. All right, so this was $500. This is a base budget increase, the operating budget, I assume, this is Sam. As it states for the spread awareness township bylaws. Any concerns with that one from council? No, see none, okay, so that one's okay, Mayor, Ms. Hassan. The next one is through the administration department, just some pins for us to wear or to acknowledge our new logo and all that good stuff. Any concerns around this one for $500?
Well, I
Did I
guess,
skip one?
well, I decided we want the acrylic right now.
Yeah, I'm fine with the staff recommendation of the enamel just for better quality. Sure. I don't know, this one, this is the old one.
That's
What is it?
probably a better quality one. Yes,
Is that enamel?
I don't know, but I would say it's probably, we're worried with the plastic pins that they're just not going to be as durable. And for the cost difference, it just maybe would make sense.
Oh, it's a magnet.
Yeah, I steal the Wellington County magnets, they're very strong.
It's a communication piece. It's something that municipalities should be prideful of. I would say make sure that they're of the applicable quality that isn't garbage.
Mhm. Okay. Everybody good with the what do we call it, enamel?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, scrolling to next one. We have here 450. Expense desired to see a reduction in the use of stock images. That would be nice. There's a report. I don't know if it's District County, it was stock images. It'd be nice to have local pictures. Look at that right here. Oh, talked about a GoPro and USB card. One thing I want to add is, so I video my children's hockey games and I purchased a gimbal. So depending on what staff want to do, the gimbal stabilizes. So if you're gonna be doing videos that the public are going to see, what, you know, the shaking can make people seasick and it just doesn't look as professional. I would just offer some wording in there that would allow staff to have their discretion to choose which devices. Is council okay with that?
Yeah, I thought the GoPro already has that built into their sensors, but
They do, even the phone, I use my phone, it has stabilization, but the gimbal is just another level and you can turn it and it'll fall, it's just way smoother. I just want to give you some flexibility. They may decide they don't need it, but I just thought, because we're very particular on our wording.
So if you, Mr. Chair, I've just changed the wording slightly. It says GoPro or comparable device.
Yeah, and it's what do you have there, 450?
450 from the surplus, I believe, is.
Okay, so that's not a base budget increase. Right?
It's special that's the way it's outlined by the surplus.
Okay. All right, any concerns around that one? No? All right. What do we have here next? Open House Show Township's land acknowledgement, and you need 1,080 from the surplus. Any concerns around that one?
The other question I was sort of related is we have pictures of Queen Elizabeth. Should we not be updating those to King Charles?
King Charles.
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff can work on that as well. I don't think we would need any sort of funding. It would be at our various facilities. And there's one at our community center as well, so we can look into that.
Yeah. So good with 1,080. It's from surplus as well. All right, Heritage Advisory Committee. Plaque purchase 2,200. Where's that one from? Reserves? No, yeah, reserves. Any concerns around that? I've been approached those families, so I think that would be a nice acknowledgement for sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this actually impacts it's quite the family tree, the Black Ord family. And it trickles down to a lot of active residents. And I know this request came in before I was on council, and I've had the family, inquire as their senior members, one of the senior members just passed away. And so it would be really nice to try to get this going before some of the others do as well. So that's great.
Any other comments? Heritage Advisory Committee, what's this one for? This on a reserve as well.
So through you, Mr. Chair, this is for the peer review services of the proposed designation statements. So it's at the $2,000 again out of the Heritage Financial Incentive Program discretionary reserve.
Concerns? No.
Can I just ask a question? Can you give us a little bit where that reserve is coming from? Is it county money, or where is that coming from?
I can speak to that. And then Ms. Hoyt Fox can just add to it. It was based on a resolution from council earlier this year regarding the alternative that policy that was established that allowed us to reduce our advertising for heritage designations, and we contributed the 10,600 to this reserve. And so it's recommended that for this year, given it's a tight budget year, that we utilize this reserve for the plaque purchase and installation and the peer review of the designation statements. The reserve currently has a balance of 10,600, so that balance will be reduced by these two items.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize what we were calling that reserve, so now it's clear. Thank you.
No problem.
That's good. Next one's the Youth Advisory for clothing. Any questions around that one? Where's that being funded out of?
And for other committees.
And others, yes. The base budget?
Yes, I believe that is tax levy funded.
There's some questions. I'll wait till the end.
You have T-shirts for various committees. I wonder is a polo shirt more appropriate?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we can look into that costing for them as well. I don't know if we have that estimate today, but we can look into that to see what would be feasible in the budget amount.
Can we just, the other point, you say sweaters. I don't know what a sweater looks like, but I think a polo shirt should suffice.
I think it should just be generic, be clothing, and then let them go away and figure it out. What's the intent for council sweaters?
Well, that's one of the picking on council sweaters. Like
I don't need council sweater, but
I think the committee should have, members should have polo shirts, so you go and knocking on doors for whatever reason, it's clearly identifiable. And council, maybe in the summertime, we want to wear polo shirts here.
I think we could. I think it's good to have the budget line in there and leave that a little more generic. I'd also, I'll go around or shoot first.
Yeah, so those are my comments, no need for sweaters, polo shirts, a pair of t-shirts for adult members of various committees.
I don't know what females wear, do they wear polo shirts or? Yeah. What, is that bad that I said that publicly? I can go and dress myself. Anybody else? So my thing would be, I wonder if the wording would be permissive to allow like if this budget line isn't fully utilized, that department heads can use this for full-time employees if their supervisor deems they need a new coat, I'll just say specifically like our public works, they fix a lot of their own stuff, they get oil on their coats, their coveralls, this, that, the other thing, and we don't necessarily understand or every year is different on needs of clothing, and sometimes if they reach their max, if the department head can justify to whoever in the hierarchy that they need to replace some sweaters, because they're on the hook all the time, if there's money left in here, could that be utilized?
So through Mr. Chair and Mrs. Sam might like to comment as well, but we do have it worded as administrative support staff clothing allowance. So I do know that we had a number of facilities, public works staff assist at the fall fair, for instance. They did wear certain like township recognizable clothing at that event. So I think there is some flexibility built in for those support staff that do attend public events, worked into the wording of how this is. And certainly if they were attending and they required a piece of clothing to be identified, we could utilize these funds. In any case, whether there was an extra amount or whether it was just required just because of their duties for that year.
But not for operational replacements of uniforms if the other budget lines are exhausted.
So through Mr. Chair, Ms. Sam might be better to answer how we sort of can share those sort of budget lines if there's an overage or under expenditure in one or the other.
Yeah, so the expense policy does address this specific item because it does say that the township will pay for replacement of clothing on an as-needed basis when approved by the department head as a result of the clothing being soiled or damaged beyond repair. And so as long as, like, there are sometimes other departments that have funds left over versus another department that may have utilized all of the funds, as long as overall we're within budget, like there should be no concern with that.
I'm good then.
Well, I was just gonna comment, this sort of came up from the fall fair when we had youth advisory members volunteering at the fall fair, and I thought a lot of the residents don't realize who the kids are and that they're there from the committee and they're doing a leadership role, and so it stemmed kind of from this idea. So I guess my question is, so if the youth is going to be wearing a t-shirt, and this is getting into the detail, but I'm assuming there'll be a crest from the township, will it also say youth advisory on the back to identify them, or is it just a township shirt that, you know, a heritage committee member will also be wearing, you know, or will the back of their shirt say heritage committee, rec committee? Like, how are we identifying? The purpose is to identify who they are and what they're representing, what role they're in. So is that detail in here, or is that something on top of the t-shirt, $20?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I think we've done that in the past where we've had sort of the different whether it's staff or volunteer identifying with so those things are all possible, and we'll look at them based on the needs of the group.
Or name tags. Are name tags expensive?
I think we'd be okay with the way we can design the t-shirts and the clothing.
Right. So no name tags.
So there's flexibility in that amount for that.
And then to your point, through Mr. Chair, we do also have the ability to print like lanyards
yeah.
and things like that here at the office, so that's an option too.
Okay, all right, so everybody okay with the 110?
Polo shirts, not t-shirts.
If the man of polo shirt.
All right,
Preferring it, so.
next one,
No
advisory committee again. This is for meetings and things of that nature. Page 44, do you have it up? I'll come eventually. So $580, any concerns around this one? No, all right, next. That was the last one, I
That's it.
believe.
Yeah.
All right, Mary, what else do you need to know?
Sorry, just one moment. I just want to make sure we,
Here's that one.
It's to be funded through the tax levy, for any direction on that,
Is that back in the original,
in the report.
what page are you on?
oh yes, there is the comment,
So-
the discussion on the full-time facility operator in the report as well.
Seven of the report.
I can go to that page, I'm sorry.
Yeah, page 7, yeah. All right, give us a high level where we're at here on this thing, what we're trying to accomplish and the impacts on the budget with the best information you have right now.
So, as noted in the page 7 of the report, the current financial implications at the time of writing the report were 19,505 for the third full-time facility operator. That takes into account decreasing part-time position hours and also increasing projected revenues at the PCC in accordance with council's previous direction. I know a question came out from council members regarding the increase in overtime costs budgeted in, I'm just double checking which cost centers it was in. It was in Public Works, Parks, and the Puslinch Community Center. We increased overtime costs by 6.5 thousand, and that's based on the actuals from the last 3 years. And so a question came from council regarding that, and I've spoken to our Director of Public Works, Parks and Facilities, and he indicated that that increase could stay at 2023 proposed budget levels. So this amount here would then decrease from 19,505 by 6,500. So this amount here is now 13,000 if we were to take into account the overtime increases that we've budgeted. Does that answer your question?
So far. This new facility operator, what will their roles be in the winter for winter control, if any? And yeah,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the expectation will be, once all facility duties are accomplished for the day, then they can contribute to parking lot and sidewalk plowing within the facilities and our sidewalk network.
would they have, if you were to hire, this may get too far in the weeds, would the job description require a DZ license? So would they be a multi-use person if required, fill in plowing, or are they strictly sidewalk operating machine, handwork kind of individual?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, primarily, their position would not require a DZ license. Obviously, the posting, if successful, would indicate DZ license is preferred.
Okay, if the park PCC with the new layout has maintenance requirements, if the maintenance requirements for that park go up exponentially due to the new layout, is the idea that this person would contribute to that maintenance, or would we likely see in the future another need for parks employee to accommodate those needs?
through you, Mr. Mayor, the intent is to first establish the new operator in a facility role first. After a period of time, then review the position to see if any other additional time is available for outdoor duties or parks duties as well.
Okay, so at the end of the day, Ms. Hassan, if we implement this operator, that's 13,000 additional levy.
Yes, 13,005. Based on the reduction of overtime by 6,500.
Can you add up all those base budget increases while council goes around with some discussions to give us a general idea of where we're at for total budget, please?
Yes.
Councilors?
I go to page 8 of the report where it says council may wish to defer decision of full-time facility operator until 2025. Deliberations order to better determine staffing and other resource requirements to meet the service levels, et cetera, et cetera. I'm leery at this stage of the game. We don't know what the impact is going to be with respect to the usage of the facility. We've implemented some changes, we're limiting the usage to 150 people or less. We don't know if that's going to draw on the resources that this full-time operator will supply. At this time, I think there's too many unknowns to swallow this extra person for 13.5.
Okay, Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. I was going to throw out there to suggest that perhaps this is a rule that could be implemented partway through the year. I think we know we're going to need this person. We're going to need this role. So I was going to suggest we could cut that number in half so that we've earmarked an amount and then buy us 6 months to kind of see how the facility is working with the new cap that we've put on it. And I just was looking for staff's kind of thoughts on that idea.
Who wants to tackle that one?
I'll speak to that through you, Mr. Mayor. You know, anything is a possibility. Again, it's my role to ensure, not only for council, but for the residents, you know, in the past several years between the 3 facilities or the 2 facilities and the property, you know, close to $3 million has been spent. And to ensure that these assets are kept protected and looked after, that is the main consideration behind this role. So again, we can continue on status quo and, you know, hope for the best as far as responses to inquiries during rentals, such as something as simple as how to run the dishwasher. You know, that's 2 hours of public works on call time that is being accumulated for an instance where if somebody was available on site, could have been quickly diagnosed within 5 minutes. So again, anything's possible and it's all council's discretion.
So maybe I'd just like to throw that idea out then for council's consideration is sort of a phase in of this staff person. So instead of the 13, I mean, it'll fluctuate based on the part-time hours, but we're looking at half that, you know, about half that amount that we can budget for. And then we look for that in July, starting on July. When I don't know if it gets busier in July. I don't know how busy the facility is then, but then we've got ourselves 6 months and we've saved ourselves half a year of cost.
I will circle back for that. All right. Councilor Hurst.
Okay, gosh, my 2 questions were just with all the upgrades to the PCC. And maybe this is hard to understand fully until there's been a calendar year through the cycle, but what are the anticipated work requirements going forward? So that was my one question. The second one is, you know, the time lag to fill this potential role, and what's that have in the budget cycle in terms of time lag and everything. So maybe an answer around that. And maybe my third comment is maybe we've been bantying this scenario around for like the better part of 3 months now. I think my headspace is like, let's just get on with it, but, we need to do that in a prudent financial way, so, that's all I had.
Thank you, Councilor Harris. Councilor Goida?
Yeah, I hear what's being said, but I think for me, I think I tend to agree that there are too many unknowns at this point in time to fully commit to this. We've changed the rental rates, we've changed the occupancy maximums. We don't know how the new grounds of the PCC are gonna go. Maybe we need to look at having a position that is part operations in the PCC and parks person. I don't know, but I think for me, I would prefer to see how the staffing levels go, how the rental rates go, how the occupancy goes over the full year and reevaluate this in 2020.
I may be muddy the water by asking about the maintenance, but from what I'm hearing, like the likelihood of this facility operator contributing to the maintenance outside is not really going to be the role of that person, so that's, for me, I brought that up, that's fine. Mr. Fowler, you mentioned that, once they have their facility obligations completed in the winter months, you'd be assigning this person to do some sidewalk plowing. Can you speak to me about our staffing levels right now for the winter? If we don't hire this person, what we can expect for service levels on the sidewalks, those types of things. And for me, I'm looking at this as, I still need to know our total number, but if a 13K, I don't want to say hit on our budget, but if we agree to a 13K and we're able to maintain our sidewalks in the winter for the school, to the levels that the people have become accustomed to, because we're making them walk from the community center over, then, that's important to me, but I still need to know the final number. So back to seasonal numbers, what your gut feeling saying is going to be, you're able, without this position, your response times to sidewalks and all our other obligations.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, currently staff levels for seasonal, we are down 1 employee. Unfortunately, they had to be let go. As far as the applicant pool was slim to none this year, so we currently are 1 person in a deficit. With that being said, it is our Public Works intention to try their best to continue the service levels that council is accustomed to. Sidewalks, especially around the school, PCC, front parking area at the PCC for parents to park will still be a priority for early morning clearings. Other than that, again, it will be a touch and go as the season progresses. I'm certainly not shedding a tear that we have no snow currently.
Yeah. Mrs. Sand, do you have a number for us with the 13,000 for the new facility operator in?
Yes, so let me also adjust for the couple of items that we discussed that we provided in the answers to council questions. Because I believe we had 10,000. I'm just looking at those numbers. So 10,000 for the multiple aquifer penetrating wells. So that's going to be a reduction in the next version of the budget that we provide on January 10th. And also 2,500 for the county rural water quality program that we budgeted in previous years, that we received confirmation from Source Protection that it's funded by either the County of Wellington or the province. So I'm going to include those, as well as our Director of Public Works worked with the County of Wellington on additional unanticipated costs regarding the Paddock Bridge closing on Wellington Road 35. And so we are assuming about 27.5K for 2023 and 20K for 2024. So I'll incorporate that 20K that we are estimating for 2024 as a reduction as well.
Sorry, Mrs. Sand, we're brainstorming here, trying to get this. I'm gonna throw you a curveball. The contribution to the gravel roads paving reserve, it's not called that, but whatever.
Gravel roads improvement.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Spillis. It's all levy funded for this fiscal year,
All reserve contributions are levy funded in general.
and for the public's knowledge, what's the level that we're contributing to that reserve that I butchered a second ago?
Just one moment.
50?
So we increased it by 50,000 in accordance with council's direction at their September 6th meeting. So right now, the contribution to that reserve is 320,800. And it's being increased by 50,000 each year over the forecast period.
Really? I'm not interested generally in not doing that 50K, but we're getting so close to the finish line on that program. I think council should have a consideration, because I also have something else in store for that money, which we'll talk about later. Possibly reducing that contribution this fiscal year only. So go back to 50 next year, because next year might be the last year. Depending on numbers, because we're gonna be close to 400,000 every year going in, so every 2 years you got 800 grand, or 2 years you can pave a road, but we can have that discussion later. If we reduce that by 5,000 to 45, and then we use 5,000 of that to offset the costing of this new operator. So then the hit on the levy would be 9K approximately instead of 13K. So Mrs. Sand, could you tell me the number for the operator if we use the gravel road improvement reserve at 45K instead of 50K? And then we use that 5,000 from the reserve to fund the operator. It's gotta be 9 and change or something.
Sorry, I'm not
Mhm.
following.
Okay, so we're gonna put 50,000 into the gravel roads improvement reserve proposed, correct?
Right,
Change that to 45,
okay,
and the 5,000 that we just took out of that will actually go towards, it doesn't actually go towards the new facility operator, but leave the facility operator in. So we're reducing the levy impact of the gravel roads improvement reserve by 5 grand to help lessen the bite that the facility operator impacts on the levy. Does that make sense?
it does. So it's just redirecting the 5,000 from capital to operating, right?
Essentially, for this year, next year, I still wanna see 50 in there. But for this year, to get this facility operator in. So if we redirect 5K from the capital to the operating, what's the remainder impact on the operating budget? 9 and change?
Are we reallocating or are we reducing capital and increasing?
Yeah, you just shifted money from one side to the other.
We're
So
not
it's not
really,
gonna have an impact because it's a reallocation.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, I don't believe, it's just a reallocation of the tax levy, so
Yeah, so right now we're at 1 point something on the capital. Right? Is the 13K proposed for the facility operator inclusive of, in your report of the operating levy increase?
no, it's not.
Right, so but the 50 is, but the 50K from the gravel roads improvement reserve is.
Correct.
So by taking 5 out of the gravel roads and putting it towards the facility operator, you're lessening the impact of the facility operator by half,
Or just 8.5 instead of 13.5.
Right,
So you have a tax levy increase associated with the operator now of 8.5.
8.5, 8,500.
Yeah.
Or, you know what,
You do 6 months in.
well, we could do that too, or, I'm nervous to do this, we could do the whole 13 out of the gravel roads. we're not doing a capital project this year. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm supportive as long as we don't increase the capital, the levies, we can reallocate and keep going down. I'm in favor of that. So if you're proposing, Mr. Mayor, that we reduce the gravel roads improvement by 13.5 and reallocate it to funding this operator, I can live with it.
I don't want to do the whole 13.5.
Well, you're saying 50, Mr. Mayor.
Maybe 10.
Right, sentence ago.
Is there any appetite for the facility operator to have an impact on the operating budget levy increase? Go.
Mr. Mayor, why don't we do this? Why don't we park this and go through the rest of the numbers and see where we end up?
Are we not done except for this? We just
Well,
need to know.
there's other things that I'd like to discuss that we could recognize and see what we can reduce costs associated with this.
Okay, so let's park it. I'll give you the floor.
Okay,
And, but keep in mind this gravel road reserve, but there's another item in closed. I want to talk to council about possibly utilizing that, so.
okay, first of all, multiple aquifers, we had budgeted 12.5K. And right now the county's gonna be picking that up, so that's, reduces the overall capital budget by 12.5, the operating budget by 12.5. Okay, winter maintenance, the staff have requested a 25K to be, contingency. Mary just advises that the county is allocating 20K in 2024 for the extra maintenance associated with 1 to 34. We're suggesting we use that 20K to apply to the 25K contingency, requiring only 25K to be added instead of 25.
To the levy, right?
Good on that.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that right now.
Sure.
Okay, so that makes sense to me because at the time of the report, we weren't aware of the contribution from the county, correct? So Councillor Bailey, what are your thoughts on just,
Sorry, where is that in the report, the winter maintenance amount?
I
This one?
can, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. It's on page 8. Discretionary reserve contributions budget. It's about the 5th line down.
Thank you. Okay.
so the background, and hopefully I don't get this wrong, is that due to some detours and other situations in the township, we incur additional grading, fuel, costing, all these things.
Right.
That had an impact which resulted in the levy increase, but then the county compensated us for those costs. And Mr. Fowler, maybe you can speak to that. Is there hope or is there some commitment that those additional costs will be covered in 2024 as well?
Mr. Mayor, that's my understanding from staff, but
Plus he doesn't like speaking, you can speak.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes. The conversation hasn't reached that point yet, but it is under the understanding that from January 1st on, time will be recorded as far as until the 35 bridge is reopened. The approximate time from the county is late spring, early summer. So approximately 6 months will be recorded to be billed back to the county for additional work due to the detour.
Okay, Mr. San, I'm liking what Councilor Spools is proposing, a reduction in that levy increase. Do you have any, I know this is short notice, but do you have concerns with what Mr. Spools is proposing?
So I believe what Mr. Sapoulis is proposing is that the contribution of 25,000 to the winter maintenance reserve that's currently presented in the report be funded by the 20,000 that we're estimating for the Wellington Road 35 bridge closure that we're receiving in 2024, the 20,000 of that. So 25,000 is the contribution and 20,000 is the recovery. Is that correct?
For a net of 5, yes.
for a net of 5 increase, so.
Yep, okay,
That would result in a 20,000 reduction in levy impact on operating, correct?
right, from
20,000.
what was presented in the report, yeah, further 20,000, but I feel Mr. Fowler has his hand up as well.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify that, you know, the additional 20,000 moving into 2024, a lot of those funds is intended to be placed for calcium. So basically, March moving until the opening of the bridge, that is the main contributing factor, is the calcium for the gravel, along with additional gravel that's going to be required just due to the wear and tear on both these side roads.
So are you correcting me because I said fuel, or what are you trying to say? Are you saying that what we're doing here is gonna have a detriment to that calcium need, or?
Basically what I'm just indicating is that our current operating budget for calcium will be affected again in 2024. So those funds that would be coming from the county would go toward compensating for additional loads of gravel and calcium. So if council was to choose to allocate that, you can expect to see higher operating levels for 2020.
So you're proposing to offset a different cost than what he's speaking of right now?
My understanding is that you've increased the calcium cost budget in 2024 from 2023 as well already. So you're saying you need more money for calcium over than what you increased?
Because of the bridge.
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that was, the intent was just to almost have basically about 9,000 in reserves in case of another incident where there's such resident backlash that another load of calcium is required to be brought in. So it was more of a proactive than actually presenting actuals.
Where are we landing?
So, the way I understand it, staff, wanted to still contribute 25, and I'm still adamant that we can make do with the 20. The other thing that I'm also cognizant of fact is that, in 2023, there is a $27,000 contribution from the county as well. So I think there's enough money between those two to reduce this winter maintenance to 5.
Mr. Fowler, there's two components we're talking about here, in my understanding. So the first payment we received from the county, was that to help cover costs associated with fuel and person hours around maintenance, as well as some, so that's the 27 we received. Going forward into 24, is there a reasonable expectation that we would be receiving compensation for fuel, maintenance hours, as well as additional calcium in 24? Because we're going to be tracking it all.
Yes,
Yeah.
through you, Mr. Mayor. The expectation is that there will be a necessary need to bring in more calcium due to the traffic volume. So that was incorporated in the 20,000 for 2024. As far as the months of January through March, there will not be a need for calcium, and you know it will be straight winter maintenance that the township would be doing regardless. So there won't be anything charged to the county for those months.
All right, so Ms. Hassan, right now we're discussing a payment that we received from the county to offset a levy increase to address a cost that should evaporate once a bridge is opened. How, if we use that payment money from the county, the overage that was incurred in 23 will just have to be, or maybe already has been absorbed through just a surplus, or how do we deal with the overage in the 23 budget cycle if we take the county payment and try to offset the levy impact?
I don't recommend that we utilize any more 2023 surplus funds for the 2024 budget. I feel like we've utilized a significant amount, and I would recommend that we keep the 2023 funds that we received from the county of the 27.5K just in our general surplus, because I don't know what the surplus is gonna be at year end, like it's
No, I
unknown
wasn't
at
trying
this
to
point.
surplus from 23 to fund anything. What I'm trying to figure out is that we didn't have a budget allotted to cover our costs for fuel and maintenance on the gravel roads due to the bridge closure.
Yes, we
So
didn't,
those-
and we are seeing significant overages in our year-to-date actuals, in winter maintenance, calcium, and, and the reason for those overages is because of the bridge closure, based on my discussions with Mr. Fowler. So our calcium account is currently at 79,000 year-to-date, and our budget in 2023 was 72,000. And our winter maintenance account is currently at 240,000, and our budget was 235,000. But these accounts will likely continue to increase as we keep getting invoices for 2023 as well. But the reason for the overages, based on my discussions with Mr. Fowler, were due to the bridge closure.
Right, so then we received a check from the county for $27,000, correct?
Yes, we are working on issuing the invoice to the county for the 27,500 for 2023 overages. There's also the overages in fuel that I didn't account for as well in 2020.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So now we have a check coming for 27,000. And what we're talking about right now at council level is directing that check towards the 2024 budget to offset levy. But what I'm hearing from you is we have some obligations in the 2023 budget that needs to address. So my question to you is, if this council right now decides to direct that check that's coming to the 2024 budget to offset levy, how are we gonna handle the 2023 obligations?
And that's why my recommendation is that 2023 check be utilized for the overages that we're seeing in our 2023 budget.
So also what I heard from you is, we have 5,000 left in the 240,000 budget line. And we're over 9,000 on the calcium. So to me, we have 27,000 minus 9, 17, 19, whatever that works out to be, to utilize. You did state there are some outstanding invoices yet to come, maybe for fuel.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of invoices coming until January and February of 2024. So like our year-to-date balance is 79,000 for calcium and 240,000 for winter maintenance. But that's at a point in time. We're gonna continue to receive invoices.
So is there wiggle room there?
Well, I'm getting a lot of pushback from staff on this one. So Mary, what are you saying for will be a reasonable number based on the discussions you've heard from us and from Mike with respect to the amount to be added to the contingency for 2024?
So I see that Mike's hand is raised, so I'd like Mike to speak first, and then I'll add to whatever he indicates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, for clarity's sake for council, it was basically the overages for the operating will be related to the county closure is obviously fuel and calcium. There is no winter maintenance component involved in the county's responsibility. That's just as a result from our increased service levels when it comes to snow removal. So that's all I wanted to indicate.
So we wouldn't be expecting any further calcium invoices then, would we? The calcium's already been sprayed on the ground months ago.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, there's no additional invoices for calcium. There will possibly be the need to order calcium earlier in the year. We usually order about May, June for dust suppressant. Due to the warmer winters, gravel roads become dustier in the month of end of March, early April now. So especially with the increased traffic, I have full expectations additional calcium will be required.
Ms. Hassan, what's our year-to-date on the fuel budget? Like what point in time are we at? Are we October, November, August? Where are we for our fuel budget? For
I believe we are, as of November.
November, and where are we at in the budget on that?
Our total budget is corporate wide is 121,000 and we are at 131,000.
We're over 10K. And sorry, what month did you say we're at already? Year to
As
date?
of, I would feel comfortable saying as of November 30th.
So we have December to weather.
Yeah.
And
that's gonna be impacted by the weather conditions as well.
yeah. So
So, Mr. Mayor, to cut to the chase, Mary, would you please suggest a number for winter maintenance contingency based on discussions you've heard?
So I did hear, and Mr. Fowler, maybe just correct me if I'm wrong, but our fuel budget, we have increased by 5% in 2024, and that's just based on projections. And then our calcium budget, we increased from 72,000 in 2023 to 76,000 in 2024. So Mike, did you want to just add to that? Because I see that your hand is raised.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just going through my records, just to clarify too, for the fuel budget, that we have had an increase in equipment actually running throughout the year with the addition of the second Parks mower, along with the roadside grader, which was out every day this summer. That is a contributing factor also in the increase in fuel, along with the necessary additional grading that our one grader was responsible for due to the County Road 35 closure.
So in my simple math, we're sitting at 131K for fuel across the corporation. That works out to 13,000 a month in fuel. We have a year to date up to November, so we likely have an obligation of 13,000 for December for fuel. We have a check for 29,000 coming in. We removed the 13,000 that we are unaware of yet, December fuel. That leaves $16,000 that we can apply to the levy in 24 as a reduction. Go.
Yeah, I like staff's, Mary's, opinion.
Which was?
I'm asking her for her opinion.
Sorry.
Yes, so I think my opinion is that 2023 check that we received, because I do see overages in different accounts, not just in public works, I would recommend that. Sorry,
No, finish.
Okay,
No,
maybe
let her finish.
Well, all I want is what you recommend for the winter maintenance for 2024. 25 or something less, and what is that number?
well, we could make it the 20,000 and it could be funded by these one-time costs of 20,000 that we are hoping to receive from the County of Wellington related to the Baddock Bridge closing on Wellington Road 35. And hopefully our new winter maintenance budget that we budgeted at 250,000 compared to the 235,000 in previous years is sufficient, and we won't need to draw from the winter maintenance reserve.
Did she just say that she would reduce it to 5,000, bring it 20K from the county?
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Okay, is that what you just said? You'll reduce the levy impact to 5,000? Because we're expecting a check from the county for 20K?
Yeah, so the net levy impact will be 5,000.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Sure, I am like.
Don't touch.
Okay, write that down, Mary.
Okay, so
Sorry,
next
so
up-
I'm reducing the contribution to the winter maintenance reserve by 5,000. So what was noted in the report was a 25,000 contribution, but now we will only contribute 20,000, and that'll be funded by the $20,000 of one-time funds for 2024.
You just mentioned it backwards. We're reducing it by 20 grand. We're not gonna reduce it by 5,000, then fund it by 20.
Sorry,
reduce-
so we're reducing the levy by the 20,000 that we just heard back from the county.
Yes.
And then we're gonna reduce our contribution to the winter maintenance reserve from the 25,000 that was noted in the report to 20,000. So,
Why?
No, she's saying she's using the 20 that we're getting from the county it's already, 20 is gonna be allocated, and the levy increase is only gonna be 5, is that correct?
That's all I'm worried about is levy increase.
The levy increase associated with winter maintenance contingency fund is 5K.
Because we're still contributing 25,000, but 20,000 of that
From-
25,000 is being funded by the county's check of $20,000.
Yes,
That's what,
that's what. Okay, Mary, is that clear?
so I had said a contribution of 20,000 to the winter maintenance reserve rather than 25,000. So that would result in a reduction in the contribution by 5,000. But if council would like the 25,000 to remain, we can keep it as the 25,000. But the net,
Ms. Suzanne,
Mhm.
what you're changing as per our direction, what will be the end impact on the operating levy? Will it still be a 20% hit or 20,000 hit, or will it be a 5,000 hit?
it'll be a 5,000 hit because we are going to incorporate the 20,000 from the county in the budget.
Well, that part's right, we're just
Yeah,
kind of.
okay, that's fine, so we're talking semantics, okay, fair enough, okay.
As long as that's clear, the impact on the levy is 5,000, not what was originally proposed, then I think we're all good.
The next item, I guess, the annual growth. Staff, that's 149,000, I suggested we recognize that and reduce the operating budget by that amount.
Yes, that will be accounted for in our next version of the operating budget with the roll return and the median calculations for the different types of properties.
Sorry, why are we reducing the operating budget because of growth by
149,000, yeah, which is 2 point, whatever it was, 2.9%.
reducing the levy.
Oh, levy, I'm sorry, don't get caught in that.
Oh. Yeah, because the growth is going to.
Exactly.
Sure.
The next one is, might be a little bit more contentious, is that the contribution to insurance of 25,000 contingency. I know we heard what the Randy's told us about it, but I look at what we had, we have 119,000 right now in the contingency, which is roughly half of the bill that we're gonna pay for insurance. I really am concerned about why we need to add another 25,000. My suggestion is to make this 0.
All right. So, is this to provide some relief if we see a spike in premiums? Is that the intention of this? Mrs. Sam?
The intention of that reserve is to contribute for any deductibles that we need to pay out based on claims. It's not to offset any premium increases. So the budget currently has a $26,000 increase in insurance premium costs. And in addition to that 26,000, I believe the report to council indicated a $25,000 contribution to the insurance contingency discretionary reserve. That contribution is the same as what was contributed in the 2023 approved budget. So that's what the base budget currently has. It has a $26,000 increase to insurance premiums and then a contribution to the insurance contingency reserve of 25,000.
Sorry, you're confusing me. I thought I just heard that last year's budget already included a base budget increase for contingency reserve, or is it? Or is that, I misheard that?
Sorry, last year's budget also included a contribution of 25,000 into the insurance contingency reserve. The base budget did not change that amount. However, because our deductible has now decreased from the 50,000 to the 25,000, based on council's endorsement of changing our insurance policy from Marsh to Intact, the 25,000 contribution could be reduced by council.
So prior to last year's contribution to the insurance contingency reserve, had we been contributing to that reserve previously, or was last year the first year of the?
We had been, In 2022, our approved contribution to that reserve was 10,000.
25 before that.
In 2023, it was 25,000, and the reason it increased in 2023 was because the insurance premium deductible increased from 25,000 to 50,000.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'll go around. You had your piece here.
Well, I just want to point out that, over the past 5 years, we've only drawn once on the amount that's in the reserve, and that was, 5,000.
Councillor Bailey?
I just noted in the answers that staff provided that they were, suggesting that we could consider just putting in 10K. So that's a reduction.
I'd like to know where we're at.
Over here, we're 119.
No, I meant for total levy increase with the growth pulled out with, the changes. Are you able to give us that number soon, Mrs. Sand, or no?
What are total levy increases approximately?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give it. So is that assuming the full-time facility operator is in or without?
Without for now, please.
Okay, so based on the base budget increases that were approved by council that are tax levy funded and the grant increases that were discussed in the first report, and the changes in the budget, including assessment growth and the bridge closure recoveries and the rural water funding, third-party funding, the current tax levy increase, which includes both capital and operating, is approximately 256,000.
Divided by 5?
By,
50, I mean,
yes,
5 point something.
that's without the operator.
Here over 5%.
512. So okay, remove the, this 25K to the insurance contingency reserve and add in the operator and give me a number.
okay, so did you want the full 25K reduced to
Yeah.
0?
Yeah, pull the whole thing out for the insurance and add the facility operator and give me a number, please.
And add in the operator?
Correct. 13, yeah.
Yeah. 4.89. That's by reducing the insurance contingency contribution by 25,000 and adding the full-time facility operator at 13,005. I'm seeing 4.89.
All right, sorry, Councilor Bailey. We were at 5.25 without the operator. Operator in, insurance contribution to 0. We came out at 4.89, so let's have a discussion about the insurance contingency reserve funding and see where people are comfortable on either going to 0 or if you want it at half or 10, or try not to throw out every imaginable circumstance. Try to find some common ground on whether you want it at half or at 0. So anyways, Councilor Bailey.
Well, I mean, staff have suggested 10K, but I guess I would look for recommendations on, or thoughts on bringing it down to a 0 for this year.
Yeah, Mrs. Sam, what are your, obviously you're supportive of a 10K contribution. Any major alarm bells going off, going to 0?
I think the balance is healthy at 119,000, which it's currently estimated at as of today's date. I had recommended the 10,000 just based on 2022 levels. But given it is a difficult budget year, I would be supportive of decreasing it to 0 for 2024, and we could increase it back to the $10,000 levels in 2025, hoping that we don't have a significant number of claims. All of this is contingent on that.
Yes, it is. Councilor Hurst?
I'm supportive. Just one follow-up question, would be. Have you established any target ranges for what you would have in the reserve for any of these? I'm thinking that and legal and other ones, and I can maybe share, you know, in my own business, like the board I report to, I keep a lot of Privener funds and I usually have target ranges as to what we achieve to keep in those, and that might be helpful for my fellow counselors and mayor, just to understand what your intended target is, and then how you, like, so I'm thinking like the election one too, you're only gonna spend it typically every 4 years, but you want to build it up to that point in time. So I think that would be helpful. That doesn't impact, you know, today's conversation. I'm supportive of zero for this year, but that might be helpful in the future, is if you could present some target ranges based on your financial analysis.
Yes, and that's a very good point. For capital, we do a really good job of that based on our 10-year capital budget and forecast, and we look at that in terms of what the balances in those reserves should be. But for operating, we're basically year to year, just with the resources that we have in our finance department. So yes, that could be something we could look at. I think with capital, we do a great job because we look at the 10-year forecast and we provide council with what the balances are in the reserve based on the 10-year forecast. But yes, we can look into that a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, I think if our director of finance is comfortable with zero, then I'm comfortable with zero. I guess similar to the grants though, I just think about the risk of not putting anything in it this year means any contribution we need to put in next year will be a levy increase. So that plays on me a little bit, but I think based on what our director of finance has said, that the balance is healthy, and so I'm okay with it.
So on those lines, Mrs. Sandlin, you know, you look back and it says in 19, we contributed 25K, and 2020, 25K. Those are base budget increases that go into that reserve in perpetuity, or every year those were individual levy increases?
So, because the contribution from 2019, 2020, and 2021 didn't change, it was always 25K. It was incorporated in the base budget. In 2022, we recommended that it be reduced just based on what the balance in the reserve was, because it was a healthy balance. But then in 2023, we recommended that it increase again. So the base budget hit from 2021 to 2022, it would have resulted in a $15,000 tax levy decrease. And then from 2022 to 2023, it would have resulted in a $15,000 tax levy increase. But
we're gonna have 10 grand go in there this year.
sorry?
We're going to have $10,000 go in there. It just won't be new levy increase.
Oh, sorry. No, what's being recommended is zero. So that's gonna result in a $25,000 tax levy decrease.
Hold on a second, because you just said that in 2022, we went for 2022 budget year, we went from 25K to 10K. So 10K was carried over, so that was a 15K levy decrease for the 2022 budget. So that means 10,000 should carry over. So for 23, then it should only be a 15K budget levy increase, not 25, because there's already 10K being carried over from the previous year.
Right, so from 2022 to 2023, there was a 15K levy increase. But what
So
I'm
that's-
hearing from council and what I said that I was comfortable with is what I provided in the base budget was 25K, and that was based on the 2023 amount. But if,
But what council didn't understand was that 10 of that was a carryover. And then only 15 is a new levy increase to go back to previous funding levels, as Councillor Goyda is mentioning, that by going completely back to zero, we'd have to start over. So what I'm wanting council to understand is that, and truthfully, the impact on this year's budget was 15K, not 25. So
with that understanding, then I would support contributing 10,
Yeah.
yes,
as we did last year.
yes.
which would result in a
50,
reduction of 15,000 to the levy.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm supportive of it,
Is
sorry.
that maybe?
Yes,
Can-
so what we're trying to accomplish is still
Yeah.
putting in last year's amount, we're just not adding to it because we're comfortable with the funding level of the reserve.
We're adding zero,
We're adding
but
zero.
we're contributing the same amount.
That's
as
right.
last year.
That's right.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mrs. Sand? We're,
Yes, so what we're doing from what I previously presented in the report is we're reducing the tax levy by 15,000.
correct.
Okay.
So that changes the 4.89 to something else.
5.09 at this point.
Just for clarity, we're adding 10, the operating budget includes additional 10K, which is levy funding.
No, it should be zero
No, it's not the case.
because
No,
that 10K was a levy increase historically. We,
Derek, could you clarify that? The fact that we're doing, what discussion is, the 10K will be a levy increase, correct? For what the numbers you have identified now.
It's gonna be a levy decrease of 15K because what was provided in the,
but
No, that's fine. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Mayor. That's fine.
it's not a 10K levy increase for 24.
No, the 25 was incorporated. We're reducing it by 15, which still means there's a 10K in there.
Zero.
In there, what do you mean by in there? In there?
My recommendation was 0, so we will reduce the entire amount by.
Right, but that
No.
10,000 that say we're leaving isn't on the 24 levy. It's just like the gravel road reserve, like we did it years ago.
No,
It's a carryover.
Okay, okay.
So,
We can do this offline, Mr. Mayor. I'm fine with that.
so I do recognize that by removing it, we get a reduction in the levy. So that part I agree with. What I was trying to address is what Councilor Goydo mentioned is that it's similar to the grants. When you go below and you take that levy away, you play catch up years later. So I think there's an appetite to still contribute 10,000 and not reduce it to 0 because that's,
Well, the way I look at it is, sort of what, Councilor Hurst is saying, what's our target for our, contingency for this item? Right now, we got 119, which is roughly, 50% of the cost of, a new contract. But, Mary's pointed out that no, this money is for, deductibles.
yes.
So if I look at the deductibles from 2019 to 2022, there was only 1 year where we had a deductible.
Yeah, so we have 4 claims worth of money in there, under,
Yeah, exactly. So far, we've been very good and, saying, well, do we?
Okay, I'll just ask, okay, so. We just need clarity on whether we want to go to 0. I like 4.89, way better than I like 5.09. But council's appetite to go to 0 or leave that historic 10K in. So Councilor Willis, you're wanting to go to 0, which is
Yeah,
fine.
fine, yeah.
Councilor Bailey,
I think I like that 10 still in there.
Okay.
Carrying over from previous years.
Councilor.
My initial reaction is go to 0, because I think we've got a great surplus, but I'd look for guidance from staff if that's the right number, but I'm also okay with 10 out of just being consistent moving forward. I think there's merit in that, so.
And Ms. Hessie, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe you mentioned you were comfortable this year going to 0 and then revisiting it next year. Is that a
Yeah, so
statement?
that's what we do with all of our reserves. We look at the balance and then we determine based on the, like where we're at in the budget, whether we need to decrease our contributions to those reserves or increase them. And that's kind of what we did with winter maintenance this year. And information technology. We looked at what some of our expenditures are looking like in the future, and that's how we recommended the amount to be contributed. So based on council's questions that came out of the review of the base budget, based on the current balance of 119,000, I am comfortable with putting it to 0, but I do agree with Councilor Goyda, then that's an additional 10,000 that we're gonna have to raise in 2025.
Okay, so I just need a little more,
0.
you're 0? and you were at 10-0.
I'm okay with 0, and if it's 10 next year, then either this year or next year, so I'm okay with it being 0.
Okay. I'm really turning into not a fan of getting, like, going backwards on the levy part because it's so hard to make it up, but I think on this one, we can do it at the end of the day. If we have more claims, we just have to find the money in the reserves or something. We can just deal with it. So I don't find this one as crucial as, say, maybe like an asset management plan where you know your risks and know your expiry dates on items. This is, just as Randy explained, it's the risk. So I'm pretty good. So we're gonna go to 0 on that one, head nods. We're back to 4.89. Councilor Lewis, do you have more items?
Yeah, I just, page 16, talking about, interest on general. This, second last line under revenues. We're almost $100,000 year to date in revenue over what we're suggesting for 2024. So I'm wondering if there's a way of increasing the 180, in other words, additional revenue based on what we've done to date. Now, I've asked a question of staff, and staff has said that it's based on a 3-year average. And in other words, going back, I was wondering if we can look at that number and increase it by, say, 50 to 230. So I'd like to have
From 97 to,
from 180 to 230.
all right, Mrs. Sandy, you want?
Yeah, so, Councilor Sapoulis is correct that the amount of 180 that's been budgeted for interest on our investments and our general bank account, we've already increased it from the 97,000 in the 2023 approved budget to 180,000 in the 2024 proposed budget. And we determined the 180,000 based on the 3-year average. So based on the 2021, 2022, and 2023 year-to-date average. That's how we determined the 180,000. I am weary about increasing the 180,000 just because I'm not able to predict what the interest rate environment is going to be in the future. And we have been successful with getting an increased amount of interest on our investments in our general bank account in 2023, but the interest rate environment is one that is very volatile. So that's why the 180,000 was recommended, because it was an average of the last 3 years.
Council?
So I'd like to ask Councilor Hurst, based on his experience and being businessman and worrying about funding and interest rates in the upcoming year, what is your projection for next year?
Yeah, so maybe 2 things. So actually interesting, I just had a board meeting last week where we reviewed this without getting into the confidential piece. We typically use a 3-year rolling average. I think our number this past year was 3.2%, which we do in laddered GICs basically, John. So I think we're pretty confident next year it'll be probably pretty similar to that, and then probably trickle down thereafter.
So you use a 3-year rolling average?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll withdraw my suggestion on this based on mission experience.
Okay, is that?
The last one's tree removal. Staff is suggesting 10K there, reduce it by 10K, suggesting that's an option. I'm good to remove it, council feels it's,
Is that our bucket truck one?
no, that's tree removal.
Yeah, we put in, years ago, we put in the bucket truck for 2020. Which tree removal is that?
If I recall the conversation, it was, I think Mr. Ballard indicated initially there was 2 weeks of consult or hired tree removal service, and that extra 10K was to bump it to 3 weeks, if I recall from the conversation.
Mr. Fowler, do you have comments on this? I'm really hesitant with that because there's still a lot of dead ash kicking around. It's all
Well,
standing.
yeah, Mr. Mayor, the only reason I'm bringing it up is, it was mentioned in the report that, was suggested by staff that would be, it's a consideration.
Mr. Fowler?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the reduction in the 10,000 will not affect 2 weeks of bucket truck service. The 10,000 was indicated to go toward an extended 3rd week of possible bucket truck utilization. So at this time, going through my request for 2024, I'm confident that I can still accommodate what I've promised to residents as far as tree removal with our current budget.
All right. Okay.
Just a comment, at our last Conservation Halton meeting, staff did, sort of recommend that municipalities, keep a healthy tree budget because there's always concerns. Right now, we're dealing with ash. I think oak wilt is the next up and coming thing. So even if we get rid of all our ash trees, there's just gonna be something else coming. So if staff's comfortable with the 5K in there, that's great. Maybe with what we're dealing with now, but I just want to make sure that we're keeping up with what the new sort of issues are going to be, and not having to react, but just having the resources available.
And Councilor Hurst?
I'm torn on this one. I think, we're looking at the type of services that residents and taxpayers truly value. I think tree removal on their property that are in dangerous, close to the road scenarios are pretty important from what I hear about. Not to kick the can up the road, but to me, this is like a $10,000, if we're at the 11th hour and trying to hit a specific percentage annual tax increase, to me, that's one that gets nicked at the 11th hour, be my opinion.
Councilor Goya?
Yeah, I mean, based on what Mr. Fowler is saying, that he can still fulfill his commitments without this added 10,000, I would lean towards supporting taking it out. But I don't know if there's an opportunity to sort of itemize that as a separate item for our final budget discussion as sort of like a thing that can be either added in or taken out at the last minute. I don't know if it works that way, but,
Sure do. We can, as Councilor Hurst mentioned, it could be just kind of highlighted as leave it in for now, but post public meeting, when we're starting to approve the budget, we can decide that, because we might have our growth numbers in, they might come in a little lower, we might need to do some tweaking, so I'd be supportive of that. I think we could go around and mark a heck of a lot of trees and make sure that there's plenty of work to justify 3-4 weeks of a bucket truck, so I'm very hesitant to remove this because there's a lot of dead trees out there, but I like the idea of just kind of tentatively leaving it in. And once we get our growth numbers and get a little firmer, here's an opportunity to reduce it by a, small amount to get a specific percentage. You comfortable with that?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned before, I already brought it up, the staff was suggesting that in the report.
Question.
Sure.
Mr. Fowler, can you clarify what this, this tree reserve is for? We've had a lot of new trees planted on the PCC grounds. We've heard trees along the roadway and then also on residents' properties. But what does this actually cover?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my initial review of that is just for any type of tree replacement that if it is if a large tree is taken down in front of a property and the homeowner requests that another one be placed, that is basically the essence of what this reserve was for.
Are you talking about a different reserve than the tree removal? Now, Councilor Bailey?
I thought we were just talking about tree maintenance program.
No, we're talking about tree removal.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know where we are then.
What item line is it?
Tree.
Anyways, it's $10,000 for the
What is
tree
this?
removals. It was at 20, going to 30.
Oh, this is
It's
10.
32 now, from 22 to 30.
22 to 32.
Okay.
Anyways, you go with tentatively leaving it in until we see some more
Yeah,
final numbers.
For sure, yeah,
All right.
sorry.
Not on deducts, I guess we still got a few other items to go.
Is there anything else?
Just one, very briefly, completely in the same vein as the insurance is just the legal contingency fund. I feel this is a similar type dialogue to what we had, so I would look for a recommendation from staff in the future of what that range ought to look like, but I fully realize that we probably incurred more legal expenses this past year than historical, so I would look for a recommendation from staff, whether that number is the right one or needs to be modified.
Okay, you want to take that as a takeaway? Just,
Yep, so through Mr. Chair, I can work with our Director of Finance on that.
all right.
Mr. Mayor, page 5, there's recommended by township staff. The one prior to that was mandated through council, and we discussed the trees that staff was suggesting, but this one is dealing with
So are we starting here at the increase in vehicle maintenance costs and fire rescue? Is that what you're talking about? Well, they're all here.
including the item that you said about on-call payments.
So on page 5, Mrs. Sand, these items that list with the costs associated, are they inclusive of the budget already, or are they, you need decisions on these, or what, where are we at with these ones?
All of the items in tables 1 to 2 are incorporated in the proposed base budget.
Well, we'll table 3.
Table 3 as well, they're all incorporated in the base budget.
Okay, well, I guess we should go through these. Is there any items on page 3 of the report? And it's basically table 1. Well, it's anyways, page 3 and page 4 is table 1. Any concerns from members of council on those items? No? Okay, then we go to table 2. Oh,
Second item, it looks like staff are seeking council's direction on the 1% COLA increase.
Yes, so
Sorry.
this was based on direction at the September 6, 2023 council meeting that an additional 1% COLA increase be contributed into the reserve for the 2024 market review process. But I am assuming that council's direction is not to incorporate that, so.
yeah, didn't we have a discussion that we can maybe do that in 25?
So through Mr. Chair, I believe we discussed, I don't recall if it was at the September 6th meeting, but looking at the market review study a little bit later to determine if it was to be done in 2024 or 2025, but Mrs. Sam might be able to correct me if that has been included in the reserve transfers in the administrative study, new reserve that was established, that might be already included. So maybe if we can just clarify.
Yes, so one of the questions that came from council was the compensation review. And it's currently incorporated in the capital budget in 2024, but all of our studies are now being funded by the newly established Administrative Studies Discretionary Reserve. With this study in particular, it will also have building surplus reserve funds as well, because it does impact the corporation as a whole. But it is not being tax levy funded, and it is incorporated in the 2024 capital budget.
Well, it's not levy.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we don't have to implement them. You just have to read it. Good luck on that one. Okay, so end of page 3 is table, end of table. Table 1, anyways. Then we move on to mandate externally through legislation. Any concerns around those items? Directions, Ms. Bailey?
I just had a general question for Mary. Can any of these in table 2 be phased in? Or is it bang January, all in?
A lot of what's in table 2, is based on information that we received in 2023. So a lot of it is, we have no say, basically, because it's mandated externally through legislation or other agencies or current economic trends. Like, for example, the dispatch costs, we've been notified by the city of Guelph that they are increasing their costs each year. The EI CPP, we have no choice in that. The minimum wage rate, we have no choice in that. The railway costs, they're increasing because of federally government authorities, so we have really no choice in that. The fuel costs are being recommended based on actuals. We really have no choice in that. The increase in the Conservation Authority's levy payment, it's in accordance with the conservation budgets, which are based on apportionments. So that's just mandated as well. The municipal insurance premium costs, the 26,000 is based on the quote we received, and we received 2 quotes this year. So a lot of this is incorporated in the base budget because we really have no say, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Anything on table 3? Recommended by township staff? Let's vote.
Yeah, there's an item here for council lunches, 750. I'm okay with that, but I'd like to say that I'm willing to contribute 1/5 of that. Well, rather than having it as a levy increase, I'll pay for it on my own pocket.
Well, it's similar when I wanted to not take a raise, you can cut a check. Whatever you want. Make a donation, no?
Yeah, well, whatever.
I think, anyways. Any appetite for modifying that?
No,
I think we're good.
nope.
Next. All right,
Leave my food alone. I'll be okay.
all right, so I think that's it for Mary. Mary, do you need anything? We're gonna take a break. I think we're come to the end of your report. Oh, yeah, we had 4.9 with.
We have that in, I have a draft motion, just kind of collectively summarizing, I think, what council has decided on in one motion, so.
This is Sam, now that we've gone through most of the numbers, can you give us an indication of the overall tax levy increase, inclusive of growth, and I believe both operating and capital, please?
It's 4.89%, with the tree removal, 10,000 contingent upon council's future direction on that amount. So it's 4.89%. It doesn't include any reductions for tree removal. Again, this amount may change because I'm still working with MPAC's roll return and the median property calculations, which I know council's all aware of. So it's estimated at 4.89.
Okay. Now, yeah. That's a good starting point. Okay, Ms. Whitefox?
Would council like to see this? It's quite a long resolution. Maybe put it up on the screen if that's helpful.
Sure.
Okay.
Ms. Whitefox, can I see it as well from the Zoom meeting?
Yes, I'm gonna
Perfect.
share it. You can let me know, Mary, if you see that Word document.
Yes, we do see it. Thank you very much.
Try to zoom it in. All right, so Mr. Chair, if you'd like, I read it at the same time, okay. So the report FIN 2023-036 entitled 2024 proposed operating budget be received, and that council approves the 2024 one-time base budget increases amounting to, and Mary, I apologize, I didn't update these, so perhaps as we go, if you could make sure this amount matches. $1,530 as outlined below to be funded by the 2023 surplus. That's the video and photo content, GoPro or comparable device at $450. And the public consultation for our land acknowledgement report and statement, $1,080. That council approves the 2024 one-time base budget increases amounting to $4,200 as outlined below, to be funded by the Heritage Financial Incentive Program discretionary reserve, 2,200 towards the Heritage plaque at the PCC for the Orton Black family, peer reviews for heritage designations at 2,000. And Mary, this is a number that likely needs to be reduced by the 6.5K, as I reduced the, from 19 to 13. So that council approves the 2024 permanent base budget increases amounting to a total that we will put in there as outlined below to be funded by the 2024 tax levy. So it's bylaw public education at 500, enamel crest pins at 551, council committees and administrative support, staff clothing allowance at 2210, youth leadership, conference and mileage, for committee members at 588, and the full-time facility operator at $13,005.
So that amount there is 16,854. Oh, sorry, just 1 second. It was previously what amount?
Hold on one moment. It's challenging working from the screen, so just a second. Can't see your mouth.
Does anybody have the
I have
report?
it right here.
Oh, yeah.
It was a 23,354.
Okay, so now the amount, subtracting the 6,500 is 16,854.
There we go. Okay. That look correct?
Yes.
Okay, and we've already read those numbers out individually. And this is the part maybe we want to take a closer look at. Further, that council directs staff to incorporate the following approved amendments into the base budget as follows. Recognize the 12,500K savings regarding the aquifer study. 13,000 to fund the full-time facility operator position. 25K contribution to the winter maintenance discretionary reserve to be funded by the one-time, and again, I'm not sure if it's 2023 or 2024, county funds estimated at 20K for the Wellington Road 35 closure, with the remaining 5K to be funded by the tax levy, and $0 contribution to the insurance contingency discretionary reserve. And that council consider the reduction to the contribution to tree removal budget of 10K in an upcoming budget meeting.
So the 13,000 is already incorporated in the resolution above for the facility operator, so that can be removed. Yep, the second part of the resolution is accurate, I believe, based on council's direction today. And the 25,000 reduction. So the insurance contingency amount is 0. I agree with that. And then the assessment growth will be factored in with the median assessments.
I can add that, and that's outlined in your report that we're receiving regardless, that you'll be factoring that in January when you have the roll return.
Yes.
One point of clarity, is it the 2024 county funds or is it the 2023 county funds that get allocated to the 2024 budget?
It is.
Technically, sorry, go ahead.
It is the 2024 county funds. The 2023 county funds, it was recommended that that be part of the township's 2023 funds.
Okay, thanks.
I'm good. Can I get a word for that? Councilor Hurst, second by Councilor Willis. Last, well, not last. Chance for today. It's good. Any questions or concerns, clarity? All right, all in favor? Let's carry, and I believe we're gonna take a break, right?
John's buying.
I'm buying from my share.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I believe next on the agenda is report ADM 2023-073 properties for designation. And I believe Laura?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, this report is to seek council's endorsement related to the work being done for the designation of the priority properties. It's a continuation of the work done in 2023, and then this report outlines the 2024 properties staff are recommending. On the November 6th Heritage Committee meeting, the committee discussed and recommended these properties and its staff intention to follow a similar action plan with respect to the engagement and process followed as we did this past year.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Comments, questions, council, Schools.
Yeah, great camera work. Which camera did you use?
Crystal phone.
Not the GoPro.
Not the GoPro? No, it's a very good rendition of all the homes. You really get a good appreciation of the historical value. And the description is really great too.
Council Bailey.
No, just from my opinion, we have a lot of nice looking stone houses in this community, so just nice to see the work going into this, and hopefully we can, do it in the timeline that we've been given.
Council Hurst.
No comments, good report, looking forward to 2024.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but this is really good work and the pictures are definitely a really nice addition to these reports.
Yeah, great report. I echo those statements. It was nice to see the pictures and it made me realize as well how many beautiful homes are within Twistle. A lot of these could be set back along very long laneways, so you wouldn't necessarily see them from the road. So great work by all. Good resolution, Mrs. Whitebox.
The report ADM 2023-073 entitled Priority Properties for Heritage Designation in 2024 be received, and the council endorsed the properties outlined in the report, with the exception of the property 4726 Watson Road South for consideration for designation, and approves the recommended action plan as outlined in this report.
You'll move for that, please, Councilor Hurst, second by Councilor Goida.
Yeah.
You're in on this one still. All right. Any last comments? All in favor? It's carried. And one last resolution.
The council endorsed the property 4726 Watson Road South for consideration for designation, and approves the recommended action plan in respect to this property as outlined in report ADM 2023-073.
You're moved for that, Councilor Spillis, second by Councilor Bailey. Any comments on this one? See any opposed? All right, all in favor, other Councilor Goida? Passed. I believe now we're going to close. You can leave it, thanks. Thank you, Laura.
So that council shall go into closed session under section 239 of the municipal act for the purpose of a position claim procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiation carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board directly. And this item is directly following our previous item.
Thank you. Can I move for that, please? Councilor Bailey, second by Councilor Hurst. All in favor? Carried. We're closed.
Claims due back next year.
The intention is to have another.
So just to staff and attendees on the call, we are going into closed session. So we just ask that you leave the webinar meeting at the bottom right hand of your screen.
Yeah, I don't remember your meeting.
Well, just give it another 30 seconds for anyone left on the meeting to just remove themselves from the meeting. Otherwise, I can help you with that. Just give it another couple seconds.
All right, thank you. Ms. Whitebox, you have a resolution for us?
The council moves into open session at 3:10 p.m.
All in favor? It's carried. Adjournment? Or no? Confirmation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I have to receive first, so the council receives a confidential report regarding a position plan for the criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board, and that staff proceed as directed.
We move for that, please. Councilor Hurst, second by Councilor Bailey. All in favor? It's carried.
And that the following bylaw be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council, bylaw 2023-055, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for the corporation of the township of Clifflands. It's being held on the 13th day of December, 2023.
All right, I'm gonna move that. Councilor Spose, second by Councilor Bailey. All in favor? That's carried.
And council hereby adjourns at 3:10. Yeah.
So mover, Councilor Goya, second by Councilor Spose. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Great job.